and welcome into the Glenn Clark Radio Show, known as GCR. If the voice you're hearing on the other side doesn't sound like Glenn Clark, there's a good reason for that, because it's not. It's Stan the Fan, sitting in for Glenn Clark. Glenn's family and his wife Mary Margaret suffered a terrible tragedy the other day when Patrick Reddy, Mary Margaret's dad, passed away suddenly, and the family is having two viewings today, 2 to 4 and 7 to 9. And our thoughts and prayers go out to Glenn and his family and Mary Margaret's mom. Loss is a terrible, terrible thing. Anyway, we're here to talk sports. It is Steelers week. And again, if you're not aware, Steelers week is tomorrow. That's when the game is. I mean, the week has been this week, but it's been shortened by one day because of a Saturday date with the Pittsburgh Steelers at M&T Stadium at 4:30 tomorrow.
Yeah, I think even T.J. Watt made that mistake this week. They were talking to him, and he was like, yeah, I'll be ready Sunday. Yeah, and they were like, and the Ravens fans were like, oh.
Easy win.
Yeah, he meant
But he's going to be ready Saturday.
Yeah, he'll be ready tomorrow.
All right, but Pickens is not.
That is correct. Yeah, the update, Deshaun Elliott will be out for the Steelers. He's doubtful. Elliott is doubtful. Justin Fields was out, and then George Pickens also out as well.
Who?
George Pickens.
George Pickens, right.
And
Ravens have a chance then.
Yeah. Maybe, you think so?
Now, who's this
I don't
guy?
know who he is.
I just
Who's
walked
this
in.
guy? Talk into the mic.
I thought this was Jimmy John's.
Yeah, you can turn it up towards your mouth. There you go. There you go.
I thought this was Jimmy John's.
Oh, you thought it was Jimmy John's?
No,
well,
just kind of
you're
sat
gonna
down.
be a little this. I don't know
Well,
why you'd be going
everybody
into.
who this is.
This is my brother Lucas. Yeah, I don't know why you'd be
Not
going
Logan?
to. No, not Logan. Not Logan.
Not today.
This is Lucas. He's
Lucas
home.
Bass.
He protects our country and. No,
Something like that.
he's in the
Sounds
army
like
and he's stationed out in Seattle not right now, but he's Tacoma, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, Seattle out there, they have a special Navy program out there.
There's a lot of Navy bases out there.
I saw a 60 Minutes thing. It's almost like they're not Navy SEALs, but they train them to search and rescue in really terrible
I believe
conditions.
it. Yeah, the water's bad out there.
Yeah.
You don't swim out there. I mean, it's freezing. You get eaten by a killer whale.
Have you swam out there?
You
swam
get
out there?
eaten by
In
a killer
lakes.
whale?
I mean, there's killer whales out there. They don't
Why
like
are
to
they
kill
called
humans.
killer whales? Is that because
They're
they
the
kill
apex
people?
predator.
They
I don't know if they kill humans. There's
Okay.
videos of people encountering killer whales out in the wild,
Right.
and they're fine.
Right.
I think you gotta deserve it.
But the
to get
water's
killed.
really rough.
Yeah, it is. It's rough out there.
So you believe in karma?
Have
is
you
what
been
you're saying?
out there, on a boat?
Actually, yeah, to go whale watching. Yeah, and
Yeah.
we did see some. But yeah, it's no joke out there. It's rocking and all that good stuff. Yeah,
All right.
especially those. I don't know if it was a big deal out here, but there was those big storms out there like a month ago, and they had these king tides, which is 10 feet over. That's just where the water line was, and then the waves would go 10 feet higher than that. So the coast got hit pretty hard out there.
All right, so I'm not asking any confidential stuff, but tell our folks watching and listening, what do you do in the Army? You have a special job.
A confidential job, kind of. Yeah, I can't.
You'd have to kill me if
Yeah,
you told me.
He's already said too much, honestly.
Yeah, you shouldn't have said I was in Seattle because now.
Yeah, you're right. Well, you're not in Seattle, so yeah.
I can't go back there right now.
We just made up Seattle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have to get the
It's
Men in
in
Black
Chicago.
thing.
Yeah,
In
exactly.
Chicago. Yeah.
I'm in Evanston, Illinois.
Okay. That
we
sounds good.
Okay.
But you do more computer analysis and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Yeah, I look at all that fun
All right.
stuff and.
You
that
like
we
it?
shouldn't-
You like it?
For right now.
Okay.
For right now, we'll see.
Can you leave tomorrow? If you don't like it.
Tomorrow. No, 3 years from tomorrow. Then I'll be good
3
to
years
dip.
from tomorrow. He's not
Yeah.
counting the days.
Who
I can
knows?
see that.
1,056
Do
days.
you are you happy with the decision you made to go in the Army?
Yeah, I've never lived in the West Coast. We've never even really been west of the Mississippi.
Right.
So it's really cool to get paid to live out in Seattle because it's expensive. It's more expensive than here
Right.
to live out there, and I get paid to live out there. So
Do you like the weather out there?
I do. It doesn't get as cold as you think because we're on the western side of the mountains.
You get the Vancouver breezes. And all
right.
that
So it
stuff.
doesn't. It's cold in the summer. It gets down to the 40s at night in the summer, But it's colder here right now than it is back out in Washington.
All right. Well, thank you for your service, and
Hey,
thank
thanks
you
for
for
having me
sitting
on.
in today.
Love to be
Stan
here.
the Fan, Griffin Bass, Lucas Bass
right.
on board today. Here's what we've got in store for you on the Glenn Clark Radio Show today. Bo Smolka joins us at 10:20. Brooke Pryor, that is Brooke, a female Brooke. Brooke Pryor, ESPN Pittsburgh. She covers the Pittsburgh Steelers. She'll join us at 10:40. Stein on Sports on WCBM Radio. He's also the voice of UMBC Basketball and lacrosse, and does some Stevenson games too.
Yes,
for
yeah.
football,
He's
right?
all over. He's
all over the map. He actually does some games, CAA games. I think he does Richmond football. A couple
really?
Games.
He goes all the way down there.
Doesn't tell you about those.
No, he
Those
doesn't.
are the big paydays. Yeah. We had a chance a bit earlier to talk to Jim Bowden before we started the program, the former GM of the Cincinnati Reds and Washington Nationals. Jim, an incredible content provider for The Athletic, for SiriusXM, and also CBS Sports, one of the most knowledgeable insiders in the world of baseball. And at 11:35, 11:40, Mary Drexler is going to join us. Mary is the program director for the Maryland Center of Excellence on Problem Gambling. That's the number you always hear all the commercials for gambling. 1-800-GAMBLER if you have a problem. And gambling, take it from me, because I was a compulsive gambler. And technically, I'm not foolish enough to say that I'm no longer, but I have mine under control. But if you think there's no hope, there is hope on the other side of that phone. The decision you have to make is that you've got a problem, and it's impacting your life in a very negative way. And Griffin is smiling about it, but he's got a major gambling problem.
No,
We're trying to
Did you
work
know
on
that?
it. That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
We're going to have an
That's why you're
intervention later today.
It's an intervention?
Yeah.
Evan was
No.
here the other day.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
We all
how-
love you very much.
Yeah. Get some help,
Yeah.
kid.
Please.
I got a lock this weekend if anyone cares. But
You got a few
yeah,
locks.
I do. I feel
Yeah.
pretty good about
After
where,
these
where,
locks
where we're
this
at.
weekend,
Yeah.
you're going to work on it. All right, we're making light of a serious problem, and it's so prevalent now and so accessible now. You know, it's unbelievable. In the old days, if you had a drug problem, you still had to spend all your time like copping the drugs. You know what I
Right.
mean? Drinking is a serious problem, and you can just walk down. It's perfectly legal to go in and drink. Back then, it wasn't even legal to gamble. But you know, but the point is, now gambling is like alcohol. It's just there for you, and as long as you got some money, you can gamble. Okay, so it is a problem, and Mary Drexler is going to come in and talk about her work with the Maryland Center of Excellence on Problem Gambling. Steeler Week. Ravens, are they still 6.5-point favorites?
They were yesterday when we did our official pick segment. I didn't notice any, at least not any significant line change. But yeah, I would imagine it's still probably 6.5 because it hasn't budged all week like that. Like that's what it opened at. I thought maybe like, oh, they must think that TJ Watt's not going to play, and
Right.
now that he is going to play, it looks like it is still pat at 6.5.
6.5.
Yeah, so
That sounds high to me.
It
for-
does.
For
Well,
the history of this game, and it's intriguing to me because it's that high. And I took in the pick segment that I usually do with Glenn, but Luke sat in. Luke took Pittsburgh. I took the Ravens.
Yeah.
Minus 6.5.
yeah, and that's on and then for our picks, I mean, Glenn did take the Ravens. I mean, I took the Steelers. You have to when
The history is compelling.
Yeah.
I
There's
mean,
it's
no
a 3-point
question of it.
game. It's a 3 or 2 point game every single time these two teams play each
Yeah.
other. So yeah, I had to go with the Steelers getting almost a touchdown. That's or I guess over a touchdown.
Over
So
a touchdown.
well 6.5.
6.5.
Yeah, 6
Okay, over
6
a
points.
touchdown.
Yeah,
Okay,
so.
gotcha.
So
Yeah.
technically over a touchdown.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean it's it still doesn't make sense to me. I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure why it would be like that. TJ Watt's going to play, and the Steelers have a miserable record when TJ Watt doesn't play. So this is a very good sign for the
Right.
Steelers. I mean, they're not
his
infallible.
Injury, by the way?
It was his ankle. He rolled his ankle late in the game against the Eagles on Sunday. And the way he went down was very awkward. It looked like he went down very slowly and then just kind of, because it was a non-contact thing. He was just exploding off the line, and then he went down kind of grabbing his ankle.
Right.
And it was almost kind of towards the back of his ankle as well. And so everyone was like, "Oh God!"
Ankle.
Yeah,
it was an ankle?
Yes, it was an ankle. But it looked like it for a second. I'm sure a lot of Steelers fans were like, "Oh God, is that an Achilles?" And fortunately, I mean, fortunately for the health of the human being, fortunately not fortunately for the Ravens, it looks like he's okay and just a low ankle sprain. And
so Lele should aim for his ankle then.
Well, he probably won't be going up against T.J. Watt too.
Who do you think is?
Well, it's probably going to be Rosengarten, I guess, against T.J. Watt a lot of the time.
Washington kid.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, sure. Yeah,
he'll be getting some help.
Luke's Huskies.
Rosengarten.
Yes, hopefully. Justice Hill chipping in there a bit.
Yeah.
Ricard.
Ricard. Hopefully. I mean, I don't think they were afraid to put Rosengarten out on an island with him, which I would be afraid. But
right.
I mean, not that Rosengarten can't handle that, but whenever you can ship T.J. Watt, I think you definitely should be doing that. So hopefully they don't allow him to take over the game.
What's the weather not out here right now? It's dreary and chilly, and it's got a little snow rain in the air.
I think it's
what's it going to be tomorrow?
Same thing tomorrow, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, about the little cooler. 35 degrees is the high for tomorrow.
Right. It's going to be windy.
I love getting ads on the Weather Channel app here.
Yeah, I can beat you to it, I bet.
We'll see about that.
It
is going to be windy. You're right, Stan.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, actually, it might die down a
It's
little
supposed to be
bit.
35, around 4 o'clock, and then it's going to start dropping down.
Okay.
Yeah, and once it gets dark, it'll
It'll
get
be a
cold.
clear day.
Yeah. I
Gets
was
cooler in the
listening
dark.
to the Big Bad Morning Show on 105.7 The Fan, and Jeremy Kahn has he has a strong inclination that the Ravens are going to exercise some demons tomorrow and play just an incredible game and kind of shellac the Steelers.
I hope he's right. I mean, I'd happily take an L in the picks segment this week if it means that the Ravens win by over a touchdown.
Right.
But that just does not. It has just not happened in this. I mean, the only time. When's the last time the Ravens? I can think of what opening day 2011 was that when they beat the Steelers 35-7 here.
Yeah.
I don't
that
even
was
remember.
that was
with a guy named Joe Flacco. at the helm.
yeah.
Bring him back.
But anyway, that game is at 4:30. The first game tomorrow is Kansas City and Houston, correct?
Yep.
Is that at 1 or 1:30?
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock in Houston?
Kansas City.
in Kansas
KC.
City.
And Patrick Mahomes is supposedly going to go in this game.
Yeah, he is. He also, much like T.J. Watt, where he rolled his ankle, he didn't play the rest of the game, like they didn't play in the fourth quarter, and then just practiced fully throughout the week and goes into Saturday with zero injury designation.
Zero injury.
Yeah, nope. He is full. He is.
It's
100%,
interesting
100%.
if they're able to win tomorrow. Does Mahomes rest on Wednesday because they then
I did see that.
They have a game at Pittsburgh, right?
Yeah, it is. I did see that. That's interesting. That's an interesting thought because they are still kind of battling with Buffalo for that number 1 seed.
Right.
But yeah, I think
you'd rather have your
Mahomes.
quarterback somewhat healthy going into the playoffs rather than battle for the home field.
What's Buffalo's record? Are they that? I thought
12-2. I think.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. And they have a win over Kansas. They have the one. They have Kansas City's only loss is to Buffalo, so they would have the tiebreaker. So
Kansas City's 12-1 or 13-1? 13-1.
Yeah.
Right?
yes, 13-1. That is
Unbelievable.
correct.
And the Detroit Lions, who have been arguably the best team in the league, they apparently are decimated in injuries. Griffin.
Oh, sorry, Buffalo's 11-3 by the way. So Kansas City.
11-3,
So Kansas City has like a 1-game lead on Buffalo.
Yeah,
So if they win tomorrow,
they should clinch the 1 seed.
They wouldn't clinch they would clinch because at best
Buffalo
then Buffalo
has the tiebreaker.
Yeah. So if they both are 14-3, then
Who do they play? The
they
Chiefs.
play Pittsburgh.
I believe they play
And then the Chargers?
the Broncos.
The Broncos.
The Chiefs have Houston Saturday and then at Pittsburgh.
Okay.
And then I think
I
host
remember
Denver.
seeing that last night.
Yeah,
Denver
they
is
host
playing against
Denver.
them.
Week 18. So that'll be
Yeah.
that's certainly the Bengals are now very much still odds
Back
not in
in
their
play,
favor.
right?
Yeah, but they
Who
are
do
back
they have
alive.
left?
The Bengals have they are sitting at 6-8 right now, and they have Cleveland on Sunday.
Right.
Then they have the Denver Broncos on Saturday the 28th at home.
Is at home
in Cincinnati, and then they are at Pittsburgh week 18, which could mean something to the Steelers, could not, depending what happens tomorrow.
And the Ravens have Pittsburgh, Houston, and Cleveland, correct?
Yeah.
Correct. Yes.
At M&T against Cleveland.
Week 18. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And then would they go to Houston?
Christmas? They're at Houston on Christmas Day.
I mean, I'm not really scared of Houston.
No, they've not been impressive. Yeah.
So
barely got by the Dolphins at home on Sunday, and yeah.
So Denver and San Diego are now tied, correct?
Mm-hmm.
They're both 9 and 6.
Did they split both those when they played each other?
I think the Chargers
they swept them.
Yeah, the Chargers swept them. Yeah, the Chargers did sweep the Denver
But there's no one
Broncos.
else in the AFC like in the hunt. I feel like that is a threat, except for like maybe Cincinnati, and they would have to win out in their schedule.
Well, it's interesting. Like the way you look at it, it feels like this week, the way these holiday games are panning out, it feels like it favors Buffalo. Like they're having the top 4 higher seed, like the top 4 seeds outside of Buffalo are all playing each other.
Buffalo has New England this week.
Yes.
And then
they host New England, they host the New York Jets, and then they're at New England, of course.
The Chiefs are not. The Chiefs are ahead.
If the Chiefs went out, they would get the. All they need is 2 of 3 actually.
Okay.
The Chiefs need 2 of 3.
And how does Cincinnati make it?
They need the Broncos to lose out.
Lose out.
Yeah, they would also need the. I think the Colts or the Dolphins. They would also need the Colts and Dolphins to lose one more game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that'll happen. That's not.
You think so?
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay.
I think so too.
Anyway, Ravens 6.5-point favorites this Saturday at M&T Bank Stadium. Game time at 4:30, and that game is on Fox.
Yeah, just a classic Ravens-Steelers clash on
Fox.
On Fox.
Who's calling that? Do we know
Is
yet?
that going to be Brady?
I think it's going to be Brady and Burkhardt.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Kevin Harlan and Brady.
No, Kevin Burkhardt.
Kevin Burkhardt. I'm
Yes,
sorry.
yes,
I got
yes.
my Kevin's confused.
Yeah. There's some
do
solid
that a
Kevins
lot
out there
now.
calling games.
I do that a lot now.
You okay?
Back in.
Put a mask on?
Yeah, I know, right?
No, can you
Anyway.
put a mask
Yeah.
on?
Sure, we're
Bo Smolka coming up in just a moment. Again, on the program today, Brooke Pryor at 10:40 after Bo Smolka. She's with ESPN Pittsburgh. She covers the Steelers. We'll get her insights on the matchup and see what she thinks about the spread. Gary Stein on Sports on WCBM in the mornings. He joins us at 11 o'clock to talk about his UMBC Retrievers, where he does the play-by-play for the basketball team. And also...
Whatever we want, really.
Whatever we want. We can talk Steelers with him.
Yeah.
I want to get his opinion on the
Roki Sasaki with him and Tomoyuki Sagano. Get his thoughts on
He's
Sagano.
got nothing to add on those things.
I want to hear his opinion on the college football playoff. See who he's got.
See who his favorite is.
Yeah.
I guess while we were talking about injuries, we should mention that Rashod Bateman did not practice yesterday. He was a limited participant on the day before Thursday, so Wednesday, and then he did not practice yesterday. He had a boot on yesterday. All right, then does not seem ideal. He could still go.
Nelson Aguilar, I understand, was a partial participant. He's still suffering the after effects of a concussion.
So he technically did not practice because he hasn't been cleared concussion, but they did say that he was working, like catching footballs on the side. So if Aguilar is cleared today, or I guess tomorrow morning, however it works, then presumably he would go. But he doesn't necessarily need practice. So Bateman with the foot, because obviously Bateman's had the foot thing before, but yeah, hopefully.
So start Devontae Walker then.
I hope you're not in a league where you need to start Devontae. What is that? An 18-man league?
Maybe. Yeah. Need some depth there.
We can get some clarity from Bo Smolka or lack thereof on Rashod Bateman in a moment or two here. While I call Bo, Stan, you want to remind everybody about that. About that, Lucas, what you got right there, right next to you, that fresh new issue of
our
Press
annual
Box.
Best Of issue hit the newsstands earlier this week. On the cover, you'll find our Mo Gabba Sports Person of the Year, and that is Lamar Jackson, and inside a celebration of the top people, performances, and moments of the year. It's available now at your neighborhood Royal Farms and any of the hundreds of locations around town where you can find PressBox. And you can read it all at PressBoxOnline.com/bestof. We'll also tell you that the CIAA tournament returns to CFG Bank Arena in February, and you can save $10 on single-session general admission tickets when you use the code HOLIDAY as you purchase your tickets at CIAAtournament.org.
That was code HOLIDAY?
What's that?
That was code HOLIDAY?
Code HOLIDAY, yep.
Write that down.
That is the code. And that is with one L.
Okay.
Not
Jackson.
Not Jackson.
Okay.
Holiday. Joining us now is our beat reporter, our pro football writer for PressBox, and that is Bo Smolka. Bo, thank you for joining us.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great, Bo. I'm doing great. How are the Ravens doing, and why in the world is a game with this historical data behind it a 6.5-point spread, Bo?
That's a good question. I don't gamble. I don't know the touts and the bookies, but that seems high to me for as many times as this game has gone to a one score, 1 point, 2 points, 3 points here or there, 2-point game last time. It's almost always a one-score game. It seems high, maybe because George Pickens isn't playing and there's questions about that offense because of that, but it sure seems like a high point spread to me, especially since Pittsburgh has simply had the Ravens number, period, over the last 45 years.
What is the health of the Pittsburgh Steelers coming into this game? We know that Pickens is not going to play, and we hear that T.J. Watt is going to play, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. He's off the injury designation. I mean, he's obviously not 100%. He's dealing with an injury, but he's going to play. Now, Pickens won't, and that's a big loss for them. And so that's the most notable one. Deshaun Elliott, the former Ravens safety, is doubtful to play, so that hurts them. He is, if I remember right, he's the one that forced the fumble on Derrick Henry in the first quarter of the game up in Pittsburgh.
Yep.
So that's a big loss for them as well. So though Pickens especially is a guy that their offense will be much different without him.
Tell me a little bit about the Ravens' health now. The latest scare, and it's got to be a significant scare for at least this week, is that Rashod Bateman injured his foot in practice on Wednesday and was seen at the facility yesterday in a boot.
Yes, that's correct. In fairness, I wasn't at practice yesterday, but that is correct. He was in a boot at practice yesterday, and it was a case where he was added to the injury report this week, which indicates an injury that occurred during practice. So, yeah, and the other complication there, well, there's two other complications there. One, Nelson Aguilar is in the concussion protocol and had not yet cleared it. Now, John Harbaugh said yesterday he might be able to by game time, but his status is up in the air. And, of course, they basically told Deontay Johnson to stay away from the facility this week, and this thing remains completely bizarre. So that's another wide receiver that they don't have available. Bateman is one to watch. I mean, we saw earlier this month Travis Jones was in a boot early in the week, and then he played. Not knowing enough about the Bateman injury to know, but the fact that it occurred in the middle of the week doesn't bode well. But again, they could be down a few receivers here, and that might put Devontae Walker up in a more significant role. And of course, he had his first touchdown catch, his first catch overall this past week. He hadn't really gotten on the field, and this might be a case where he needs to be.
Bo, so we've throughout the week, Glenn's kind of built this up as really the biggest regular season game of Lamar Jackson's career, and I found it kind of hard to argue that, and and a lot of it's because he just doesn't have much history with the Steelers. He hasn't played them many times for one reason or another, and when he has, he just hasn't been very sharp against the Steelers. How important is this game beyond just wins and losses for the Ravens and them just mentally trying to get back past this block that feels like the Pittsburgh Steelers right now?
I think it's big. I don't know. I'd have to go back and consider all the games over all the years, but I mean, this is a big one. They do have a mental block against them. They do. And I know earlier this week, Marlon Humphrey and Kyle Hamilton, Zay Flowers, they all kind of downplayed and said we weren't I wasn't even aware that we had lost 6 of the last 7 or 8 of 9 it is now. But, yeah, the Steelers have just stayed a step ahead of them. Now, as you mentioned, Lamar Jackson sat out a couple of the games here in Baltimore against Pittsburgh because they had already clinched their playoff spot. He missed one with an injury. He's only played them, I think, once in Baltimore in the last 4 or 5 years,
and this will be his
they
first,
lost that one.
This will
That
be his
was
first
the
time in
day
front of
that
fans in Baltimore.
Jackson,
Yeah.
What's that?
This is his first time playing in front of fans in Baltimore, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's true. That was the COVID year, and he threw a pick 6 on the first series in that game. Last time he was the last time he played in Baltimore, they rallied and had a chance to win the game on the last play of the game, and it did not. But he just hasn't overall. He hasn't played well against Pittsburgh. I think their defense is a tough matchup for the Ravens in general, and it is a mental thing. I think they've got to figure out. There's still a chance they could end up back in Pittsburgh in the playoffs if they don't win the division. It could easily end up being a 3-6 Ravens-Steelers game in Pittsburgh. Obviously, Pittsburgh wins the division if they win the game Saturday. So that's the first thing. They can prevent. If they lose Saturday, they lose the division. If they win Saturday, it's very much game on for the division title because the Steelers have to play the Chiefs, and they could lose a third in a row. I'm not saying they would. I think the Steelers still have the edge to win the division. But to your point, I think it's important. I think this team need to know they can beat Pittsburgh, and a lot of these players have not beaten them very much, if at all.
Bo, what's your latest take on the psychological condition of Justin Tucker? And were you surprised that the club, the team last week, didn't position him to get a couple field goal attempts in that football game?
Well, I said last week I would have played for a field goal at some point just to get him a couple swings because I thought it would help him. I know coaches don't really think that way, I don't believe. But, yeah, I don't think it would have been a bad thing to just go ahead and, without saying or being obvious that you run on 3rd and 9 when you're probably not going to get it, and then you kick a field goal. But, I mean, it's hard to say. Mentally, I didn't talk to him this week. He always is saying the right things. He had a huge crowd at his locker after the game. I didn't talk to him. I was waiting to talk to Mark Andrews. And, again, all he did was make 5 extra points in that game last weekend. So his mental space, again, it seems to be okay. But I'll say this. When we've watched him in warm-ups and we've watched him in practice to the little bit we're allowed to watch, everything looks fine. Then something is just misfiring in the game situation, and they're trying to figure out what it is. He's trying to figure out what it is. Mentally, it sounds he's saying all the right things, but we don't know what's going on in his head. But it's going to be, every kick kind of expounds on the next one until he's consistently making them.
Bo, how do you see the moving to the defensive side? How do you see the secondary kind of being utilized moving forward? Nate Wiggins obviously really coming into his own of late and throughout the season, and Brandon Stevens has still been a very serviceable cornerback, but his deficiencies are becoming more apparent, I guess, as it goes. How do you see the secondary looking?
Well, Brandon Stevens is getting picked on by teams, and they're realizing that if he's not finding the ball, he's going to get grabby, he's going to be in the wrong position, and they're going to get pass interference penalties against him. And they pick on him. And there were times when Stevens has been really good and really physical, but he's getting called more and more often. To your point, I think Tre'Davious White was a guy that was an interesting kind of trade deadline acquisition in the sense that he couldn't even get on the field with the Rams, and there was a question, well, what role will he have here? And it turns out now he's got quite a significant role. He's rotating right through with the other cornerbacks. Everything in the secondary changed when they moved Kyle Hamilton to deep free safety. It just changed everything about how they play. And I was among those who said they were a better team with him near the line of scrimmage, but that's clearly not the case for them now. He's at the back end. You watch him. The communication is better. Everybody is in the right spot. There's none of this last-second scrambling when the ball is snapped anymore. Marlon Humphrey said as much this week. He said, I get the call, but then I hear Kyle telling everyone else what they're supposed to be doing on the call, and he's just got command at the back of the defense, and they didn't have that when Marcus Williams was back there. They were giving up big plays. There was confusion, and Hamilton was helping near the line of scrimmage, but they were so vulnerable deep. And moving Hamilton to the back and giving him more of a defensive quarterback role back there has completely changed what they look like on defense. And I know the Giants are who they are, but even against the better teams, they have looked more settled and more composed with Hamilton back there. So, yeah, Wiggins is playing better. Tre'Davious White has been a good improvement. Ardarius Washington replacing Williams has been a plus, but everything has changed with Hamilton moving back to deep safety.
So you do attribute it more to him, because I was also going to mention that around that same time they moved Hamilton back is when Ardarius Washington joined the starting lineup, and I joked on the postgame show last week that when are they going to announce an extension for Ardarius Washington? Could anyone have imagined that switch being this effective with Ardarius Washington back there with Hamilton?
I mean, I think they've always liked Ardarius Washington. He's small. He was overlooked in the draft because of his size. They've always said he plays bigger and more physical than his size. They've always been Ardarius Washington fans. He's had injuries that have held him back, but the team itself has always seen what Ardarius Washington can do. They've always been supportive of him. No, I didn't expect he would be the guy that comes in and plays every snap at safety. That is a surprise. And yeah, he would be a candidate to extend. He's the kind of guy that would that they would probably extend at a relatively good price, and he'd be pleased to stay here. But, no, he's also been a key. Like I said, they needed to figure out that back end. Marcus Williams wasn't doing it. Eddie Jackson wasn't doing it. The young safety like Bo Bray, they don't think he's there yet. And Ardarius Washington, who was originally viewed as a nickel back, has come back there and played safety and done really well. So he's definitely been a big factor in it.
Bo, two more questions for you. I think we were all so excited last year by Keaton Mitchell, and he suffered that, pretty devastating knee injury. We couldn't wait to get him back on the field this year, and I think we've seen him on a few plays here or there. They basically sized up that for the long-term play, it was better for him to kind of rehab that and strengthen it and be ready to go next year.
I mean, that seems to be it. They I know he came back and he played a little bit on kick return, maybe a couple snaps on offense, but, with Derrick Henry and Justice Hill back there was never going to be a big workload for him at running back as long as those two guys are healthy. And he does add something for sure if he's good to go. I still think they think the knee, and it was a significant injury.
Yeah.
And so I still think they question whether that's really back to where they want it to be and where he can be as explosive as he was. Rashid Ali is a guy they like and has the potential to do things that they want to give a look to him as well. He's a different guy than Keaton Mitchell, obviously. But, yeah, fans were, rightfully excited about Keaton Mitchell. He showed what he can do on some of those long runs and just explosive plays. But I do think that, John Harbaugh a couple weeks ago suggested that maybe it's, they got to be careful with him. It's a major injury. Maybe he's not all the way back yet. He worked hard. He worked really hard to get back on the field this fall. And he's there, and he got there, but I do think they're being cautious with him, and they can afford to be because, as I said, with Henry and with Hill doing the majority of the work in the backfield, and Rashid Ali, a guy they want to give a look to, they can afford to. It's disappointing for Mitchell probably and for fans, but it does make sense.
Last thing I've got for you, several weeks ago they brought in Dean Pease to help Zach Orr get this defense straightened out. Is it fair to say that it's Zach Orr's defense, or does Dean Pease deserve some of the credit for the turnaround?
That's a good question. He probably deserves some of the credit because I imagine Zach Orr has picked his brain more than once. And I don't know if Dean Pease was the one that drove the idea to move Hamilton to the back, or if that was Zach Orr, or I don't know. I don't know the genesis of that. They've also made a move where they've kind of phased Trenton Simpson out at inside linebacker, and they're using Chris Board there more. They're looking at different things there. So I don't know if Dean Pease is the kind of catalyst for the improvements, but I do believe he's a factor in the sense that Zach Orr is going to bounce ideas. What do you think of this idea? What should we do here? It's ultimately Zach Orr's defense, and it will be. And if it does well, he deserves credit. If it fails, he deserves blame. It's his defense. But Pease, I think, is probably, I'm sure Pease has been a factor in some of that.
All right. Bo Smolka, many thanks. As always, does a great job for us at PressBox and PressBoxOnline.com. Excellent piece on our best of issue on Lamar Jackson and what he means to Baltimore. All right?
All right, thanks.
Thank you, Bo.
You bet.
Okay.
All right, take care.
That's the Ravens side of things. When we get back, Brooke Pryor of ESPN Pittsburgh, she covers the Steelers. We'll find out a little what's going on in Pittsburgh as they approach this game. Before we go to break, what's going on at Live Casino?
I think folks know what's going on at Live Casino by now, Stan, but I will be happy to remind everyone that every time a Baltimore football or Washington football team scores a touchdown during their home games this season, Live Rewards members are getting $7 in free slot play. You have to have your Live Rewards card inserted correctly into the slot machine. Any slot machine on the floor, and be actively playing in order to get your prize. But once those touchdowns score, you're getting $7 in free slot play. Valid for slot play only here, and it might be a good weekend to try to make it down there and get a few extra bucks here, because both Baltimore and Washington are home. Baltimore on Saturday, Washington on Sunday.
Yeah, you can
long weekend.
You can get a ton of money.
You could, and hope maybe we'll see lots of touchdowns scored. It's Adderall and Mills. Must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
All right, up next, Brooke Pryor. Right after these words, followed by Gary Stein, Stein on Sports on WCBM Radio.
The top high school basketball talent from across the country returns to the Wycomico Civic Center December 26th through 30th for the Governor's Challenge presented by Pohanka of Salisbury. Witness 5 full days of elite competition featuring over 140 high school basketball teams from 16 states plus Canada. Multiple top 10 teams and nationally ranked players will display their talents on the court. Don't miss the best experience in high school hoops. For tickets and info, visit govchallenge.org.
Hey Baltimore, it's number 10, Arthur Millette, and I'm hoping you'll slot us in all season long for the Arthur Millette Show. We will be traveling around the region all season, giving you the chance to get to know me and my teammates. There will be some football talk and a lot more. You can watch this show live on Pressbox's Facebook and YouTube pages and listen every Friday night on 105.7 The Fan. Find out more at pressboxonline.com/Millette. The Arthur Millette Show, the only show in town that's a work of art.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino in Hotel Maryland, at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
The drug scene in Maryland is changing. Fentanyl and xylazine are being added to street drugs, and you may not even know it. Xylazine is not even intended for humans, and fentanyl is an opioid 50 times stronger than heroin, and contributed to over 80% of overdose deaths in our state. Anyone who uses drugs, even occasionally, is at risk of overdose. To learn more, visit stopoverdose.maryland.gov or call or text 988.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. There, you just saved money with Easy Pass, all without slowing or receiving a notice in the mail. Well done, thrifty driver, well done. Get your Easy Pass at DriveEasyMD.com.
Visit Harford County this holiday season for a brand new event. You'll feel like you stepped into a holiday movie. Harford Holidays is overflowing with the spirit of the holiday season. You'll be amazed by the jaw-dropping light displays, thrilled by a visit to Santa's workshop, and have the holiday time of your life with sleigh rides, a special vendor village, s'mores making stations, and so much more. It's a holiday light experience, new at Ripken Stadium, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, December December 6th through December 22nd. For ticket information, head to visithartford.com. You'll have the happiest holiday season ever.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
We are back. It's not Glenn Clark, Stan the Fan, sitting in for Glenn. Griffin Bass with me, and his brother, Lucas Bass.
Yeah, you want to tell us something, Luke?
So of the military. So coming up in a couple weeks, Governor's Challenge. Actually, not a couple weeks.
Yeah, next week.
December 26th through the 30th. High school basketball talent from across the country returns to Wycomico Civic Center. Witness 5 full days of elite competition featuring over 140 high school basketball teams. For tickets and info, visit govchallenge.org.
Very good. Very nicely done. Joining us now from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, is Brooke Pryor of ESPN Radio in Pittsburgh. Brooke, you're on with Stan and Griffin. How are you?
I am great. I'm looking at some snow that fell this morning in Pittsburgh. Wasn't expecting that, but I guess 'tis the season. It puts me, a little bit of the Christmas spirit.
All right. Well, when do you get to Baltimore?
Later tonight. I think I get in about 9 or 10 o'clock. It's going to be a whirlwind, like 36 hours. Get into town, cover the game, and then believe I got to peel out of there around 7 a.m. to get back because the Steelers, like the Ravens, have a short week, and that means Mike Tomlin is going to talk on Sunday afternoon.
Do you fly in or do you come in with the team? How do you get here?
I will be driving myself. I like to have the control of having my own car there.
Okay.
Control when I leave, when I get there, all those good things.
All right. Do you travel with a air pump, in case you get a low tire gauge reading?
I really should, because that has happened to me more times than I can count. I just, fingers crossed that there's a gas station nearby that I can put some air in my tires real quick.
All right. I've become a freak for that thing. I have to have it with me. Brooke, tell us a little bit about, we just had Bo Smolka on, our beat reporter for PressBox and PressBoxOnline.com. He gave us the angle of all things Ravens. Are you shocked that a game with this history shows a spread of 6.5 points in favor of the Ravens right now?
A little bit. I mean, Vegas knows best. They've proven that time and again. But, I mean, when I look at the history of this game, it's usually a lot closer than that. But I wonder how much of that is a byproduct of the fact that this is, the first time that Lamar Jackson's going to start against the Steelers in front of a crowd at home. I think that that's going to have a big impact on the game. I don't know if it's 6 points worth of impact, but I think that that's kind of a wild card that we haven't really seen in this series.
Let me ask you a question about the Steelers' offense. It turns out they are getting T.J. Watt's going to play in this game. We don't know fully if he's 100%, but he's good enough to go. But that offense without George Pickens, how undermanned are they without Pickens?
Well, when you look at the way the Steelers played the Ravens the first time around, I mean, they're pretty undermanned. Pickens had 12 targets, 8 receptions, 89 yards. Steelers, of course, had a field goal fest, so not a lot of action in the red zone. But George Pickens was huge at stretching the field, and I think that that's something that they've really missed the last 2 weeks without him. They don't really have that vertical threat, or at least a credible vertical threat, and then that clogs everything else up. That's why the run game hasn't produced very much. So I think that if the Steelers are able to adjust the game plan that they've used in the last 2 weeks that didn't produce much, if they can get Mike Williams involved more, if they can, push the ball down the field more with a guy like Calvin Austin, Scotty Miller, one of their speedy guys, then maybe they're not quite as undermanned. I think they have to spread the ball out a little bit more than they did in that first Ravens game, but this is a game where you really, really, really miss George Pickens.
Brooke, we just talked about George Pickens, and that was one of the reasons I feel like a lot of Ravens fans were watching the Steelers injury report. Frankly, a little bit closer than the Ravens injury report this week until Rashod Bateman popped up yesterday. So T.J. Watt, obviously, everything shows that he's coming in with no injury designation. So how healthy is T.J. Watt? We expect 100% of T.J. Watt tomorrow?
Well, T.J. Watt is, an alien,
Right.
so I expect him to at least be 90%, even if maybe he should be 75% after that injury. But I got to say, I watched him in practice all week. Not only that, I watched him walking around the facility. The moment to me where I realized, his foot, ankle, whatever the issue is, he's saying officially it's an ankle, is fine or fine enough, was he was stretching, and one of the stretches he had to bring one foot forward and kind of across his body where his ankle foot was at an angle and was stretching down on it. And I just thought, oh my gosh, when I've sprained an ankle, like, I don't have that kind of mobility regularly, let alone when it's sprained. That's way too painful. So the fact that he was doing that and then doing some lateral movements, running, I mean, he was a full participant yesterday. I think that even if most other people wouldn't be 100%, TJ Watt's going to figure out a way to be out there as much as possible. And realistically, if, he comes into the game Saturday and has swelling or aggravation or pain or whatever it is, the depth of that outside linebacker pass rush group is even better than it was in the first game because Alex Highsmith is back. They've got Preston Smith more acclimated to this group, and Nick Herbig is playing at a really high level. So that's one position that you hate to say, they can handle an injury to an all-world player like TJ Watt, but they are in a better position to kind of absorb that loss if something were to go haywire between now and the game.
We're talking with Brooke Pryor of ESPN Pittsburgh. She covers the Steelers, and you can hear her in her answers. She knows them backwards and forwards. I'm wondering, the regular season has gone pretty darn well for the Pittsburgh Steelers. What the overall thought there is on the acquisition of Russell Wilson?
I think that it's largely been better than expected. That's because you didn't really know what version of Russell Wilson the Steelers were going to get when they did acquire him. I mean, it was essentially a low-risk, no-risk acquisition. Yes, they ended up trading away Kenny Pickett afterward, but he hadn't really shown signs of being able to step forward and become the franchise quarterback. So losing him, gaining Russell Wilson, and then also gaining Justin Fields, I think that Russell Wilson, the hope was, okay, if he can come in here, limit the turnovers, and just give an average to above average quarterback performance, something that Steelers honestly haven't had consistently since Ben Roethlisberger retired, the rest will take care of itself because they have such a strong defense, a good ground game, a kind of, I would say, average to below average collective group of receivers. They didn't really add to that group. But it was kind of, if Russell Wilson can be a game manager, that's great. And he's done that, and I think gone above that when he's been able to stretch the field, when he's had those moon balls. That's something that, for as good as Justin Fields was in those first 6 games, when, they won quite a few of them, he was not pushing the ball down the field, and that passing game just really wasn't developing. And so the fact that Russell Wilson came in, elevated the passing game, which in turn even further elevated the run game, I think that it's been a good experiment. The biggest thing is just the offense has not necessarily been consistent with him. There's been a lot of just boom or bust, all or nothing, and that's something that they've got to get better at. They need to look more at what worked against the Bengals when they were able to sustain drives, convert in the red zone. That's going to be the key to being able to, not only they're obviously in the postseason, but not only be in the postseason, but win their first playoff game since 2016.
Brooke, I've watched a lot of football in my 72-plus years, and I've never seen a player of the caliber of Russell Wilson laid out by a coach the way Sean Payton did on national TV last year. Did you see that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that I think that was a very low point in Russell Wilson's career.
No question, a low point in his career, and in my estimation, a low point. I mean, I guess if you're used to having Drew Brees for like 12 years, you're not going to have to lay him out too much. But how has the relationship been between Mike Tomlin and Russell Wilson? And I'm wondering if Mike Tomlin has been the right guy for Russell Wilson at the right time.
Yeah, I think that's a huge part of this because so much, depends on that coach-quarterback relationship. And I think that Russell Wilson needed someone who believed in him and, was very much a player's coach and showed that, and was also transparent with him, a little tough love, but not too tough. And I think that Mike Tomlin has been the right guy for that, because as when you watch Hard Knocks, you see just the way that he interacts with his players, the way that he coaches them up and gives them words of encouragement when they need it, and then harsh doses of reality when they need it. And I think that that's exactly what Russell Wilson needed. And I think that Mike Tomlin also sees a lot of himself in Russell Wilson, being a guy who, is being counted out when he got here because of his age, because things hadn't gone great in Denver. And Mike Tomlin wants to, help him prove that, no, he's still a great player. He's still got a future in front of him in this game. And so I think that, I wasn't quite sure how they would coexist in terms of, Russell is very over the top in how he motivates. Mike Tomlin is more understated, at least with us publicly, but in the locker room, they're kind of two sides of the same coin, but just take different approaches. And I thought maybe it would be a competing thing. They bump heads, but instead it's actually worked out really well.
Brooke, I'm hoping you can reveal some of Mike Tomlin's secrets, because how do they do this every time that they play the Ravens? They drag the Ravens down and force them to force the Ravens to make mistakes, and evidently over the last several seasons now they've made more mistakes than the Steelers, and they find a way to get the to force Lamar Jackson into poor play. So yeah.
I think my best guess is that it's a voodoo doll. I mean, it is kind of remarkable how good they've been against Lamar Jackson. But I think a big part of it is the intangibles that Mike Tomlin brings as a coach. The way that he gets guys to key in, focus on the most important thing. I feel like he just gets guys so focused and so up for the big moments and the big games. And the Lamar Jackson examples are the best ones of how good he is at that. And I also think that there's something to the momentum that the Steelers feel like they have against Lamar Jackson, because they've played so well against him so many times that, you're not necessarily afraid of him. Mike Tomlin would never have a team afraid of anything. But I think that when you have this repeat success against a quarterback, it kind of tells you, like, okay, he's going to do some insane magician-like things, but we've been there before. We've figured out how to beat him before. We can do it again. And that just, I think that belief pervades the entire defense, but they know better than to get comfortable in that, than to say, well, we've figured it out before. We can just kind of, rest in our laurels and we'll figure it out again. That's not the way a Mike Tomlin team goes. They're not going to overlook anything. They're not going to downplay anything. And so I think that it has all come together and worked out really well.
When North Carolina brought in Bill Belichick, did you ever fathom that as a possibility?
Did your heart go aflutter?
I don't know if it was a flutter good or a flutter bad. It was definitely not a thing that I ever thought would really happen. That's one of those things. It's like a punchline of a joke, right? Like, oh, there's an opening. Maybe they'll go get Bill Belichick. Ha ha ha. Like, oh, is Nick Saban available? And then surprise, Bill Belichick was available and interested. And I don't think I will ever get used to it. Like, it's not going to be real until I see him on the sideline in Kenan Stadium coaching a game. I feel like we are living in the upside down. This is bizarro world, but the content's going to be great, whether it's good or bad. The content will be spectacular.
If you were a student covering Bill Belichick, what would be one of your first questions to him, I guess?
Oh, that is a great question. Honestly,
what's it like dating somebody 50 years younger than you?
There you go, Stan. Well done.
I don't know that would be my first question, because I wouldn't want my credential to be taken away, but it would definitely be in the list. That's one of those that if you have a one-on-one,
right,
you ask everything that you need, and then you throw that in at the end, and that's when the SID PR steps in and says, all right, that's enough. Have a good day, and shows you the door.
Hey, Brooke, before we let you go, we've analyzed it from the Baltimore angle and now the Pittsburgh angle. Give me a score and who do you think's going to win this game tomorrow?
Oh, it's going to be a close one. Part of me, you know what? I think the Ravens are going to pull this one out because of all these, I know the Steelers have had a lot of success against Lamar, but playing in front of the Baltimore crowd for the first time against the Steelers, I think is going to add a little something extra. But I think it's going to be close, maybe 17-15. There'll be a weird score, but I think it's going to be well below that 6-point spread.
Sounds very Raven Steelers.
Thank you very much for joining us, Brooke. Very enlightening. All right. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right. Have a safe trip.
Thanks.
All right. Get that air pump. All right, for your tires. Don't drive without it. I'm going to. We're going to take a break before Gary Stein joins us, and I'm going to tell you that Glenn Clark, Rita Hubbard, and Super Bowl 35 champion Femi Ayanbadejo, after every Raven game, join them tomorrow with Project Game Day, as they'll break it down, what happened in each game and what it means moving forward. Join the crew this Saturday, immediately following Ravens Steelers, at PressBoxOnline.com/gameday.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland, at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. Learn more at DriveEasyMD.com.
PressBox's Project Game Day is the place to be after every game this season. Join Glenn Clark, Rita Hubbard, Super Bowl 35 champion Femi Ayanbadejo, and our cast of regulars as they break down what happened, why it mattered, and what it means moving forward. You can watch the show at PressBoxOnline.com/gameday or PressBox's Facebook and YouTube pages. Project Game Day is brought to you by the Green Turtle Sportsbook in Towson and Canton, Easy Pass, and HelpMyGamblingProblem.org. So join us for Project Game Day after every game day this football season at PressBoxOnline.com/game day.
Treat yourself and taste the Baltimore tradition that is the legendary Costas Inn. Hey, it's Stan the Fan Charles. For over 50 years, the Costas Inn has been a Baltimore original, dishing out their amazingly scrumptious, fat, award-winning crab cakes and steamed crabs. Every season is crab season at Costas, so make your plans now by calling 410-477-1975 and reserve your taste of heaven. Sit back, crack some crabs, and watch the Ravens chase down another title on Costas' 15 TVs. On Monday nights, Costas offers their half-pound jumbo lump crab cake with 2 sides for under $30, and there are nightly specials Monday through Friday. So head on down to the Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard or visit them at CostasInn.com.
The votes were all counted, and the results are official. Royal Farms was named #1 for food in the USA Today 10 Best poll, receiving more votes than any other convenience store chain in America. The next time you want to get some good food fast, doesn't it make sense to go to Royal Farms? Voted best in the USA and home of world-famous chicken. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
The top high school basketball talent from across the country returns to the Wycomico Civic Center December 26th through 30th for the Governor's Challenge presented by Pohanka of Salisbury. Witness 5 full days of elite competition featuring over 140 high school basketball teams from 16 states plus Canada. Multiple top 10 teams and nationally ranked players will display their talents on the court. Don't miss the best experience in high school hoops. For tickets and info, visit govchallenge.org.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
We are back on the GCR program, Stan the Fan, along with Griffin Bass and Lucas Bass. We'll tell you one more time that the County Sports Zone, you can find every score from every high school sporting event all year long at countysports.zone, proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. And I understand they'll even have the scores of the Governor's Challenge that's taking place in Wacomico County starting December 26th.
Coming up
through the 30th. 5 days of basketball down in Salisbury area. Is Mr. Stein on with us?
I believe he is.
Mr. Stein, can you hear me?
Mr. Stein is here. How you doing, Mr. Charles?
I'm doing fine. Happy holidays to you and your lovely wife, Julie.
Thank you. Same to you and yours and lovely wife, Jane.
All right. Stein on Sports. Tell me a little bit about Stein on Sports on WCBM Radio.
Stein on Sports every morning, Monday through Friday from 6 a.m., actually all the way up till 11:30 a.m. on the top and bottom of the hour, so 05 and 35. And we have a good time with it, cover it all. Ravens, Orioles, local, national, all kinds of stuff, fun stuff, a lot of fun stuff, actually.
Is it just
give us a listen.
Is it just a recitation of scores, or is it more insights?
No, not at all. It's a mixture of, scores. Obviously, you want to give the scores and highlights from games, which, I think everybody likes. But it's opinion. It's really everything. It really runs the gamut because it's not your typical sports report. If you listen on the radio, most of the times, what do you get, 30 seconds of sports report or a minute?
Yep.
We go a minute and a half. We go 2.5 on the bottom of the hour. So we do have a chance to get into like banter,
Uh-huh.
So it's like a mini show twice an hour,
All right. And what time do you get up in the morning now? 5:30?
I get up at 5.
5
and I'm in the
o'clock in the
station by
morning.
5:15. I live close.
Was that difficult for you to get used to doing?
I'm still not used to it.
And
I've been doing it for 6 months now.
And you've been doing it 6 months?
Since the beginning of August.
Wow.
Coming up on 5 months.
If you had a gun to my head, I would have said he's doing it 2.5, 3 months, but it's close to 6 months.
Almost 6 months.
Unbelievable. Yep. You will get used to it. You're about year 4, it kicks in. You get used to it, Gary.
Year 4, I'm ready to call it quits, Stanley.
All right. Do you find that it changes your day, the energy you have during the rest of your day?
Yes, absolutely. So, waking up at 5 o'clock is not fun, but by the time my first sports report is done by 6:10, I'm good. I'm like, it's like a normal day at that point.
Right.
But then you kind of run out of steam.
Yeah.
You run out of steam later in the afternoon. So I found myself, not every day, but I found myself sometimes taking a little nap at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So it's definitely had an effect on the rest of my day. But hey, I'm still able to get all my stuff done. I still own Studio 83. I do all that stuff. So I basically have two jobs now,
Yeah,
but it's fine. It's all good.
And don't you still do like hundreds of tax returns?
Not hundreds, but I do tens of them.
Yeah.
And I do play-by-play, for college athletics.
Of course, yeah.
So I still have a lot going on.
All right. Speaking of play-by-play, how are the Retrievers playing?
They're actually playing very well. They're 7-6. They gave Georgia Tech a great game the other night. They were trailing by 21 points down in Atlanta in the first half. They cut it all the way to 6 with 2 minutes to play, and they had the ball. And they just couldn't, advance any further. So they ended up losing by 9. But it was really a good game. They shot 50% from the field, played great defense, aggressive defense, and Georgia Tech's good. They've got 2 players. They've got Gerard Mustaf's son and Dikembe Mutombo's son. So we're not talking a slack here.
No.
The Mutombo kid's 7'2". But they gave him a great game.
So I know you got pretty close with Ryan Odom when he coached over there at UMBC.
Yeah.
First of all, how's he doing right now?
I mean, personally or professionally?
Professionally. How's his team doing?
Yeah, no, they're doing fine. I mean, they're not setting the world on fire, but they're a better than 500 team.
They're
one of the favorites in the Atlantic 10.
He's at VCU now?
Yep, he's at VCU. In fact, I saw him. So I go down to Richmond. I do the Virginia Union play-by-play football, which is in Richmond.
Yep.
So I was down there for the day, and I texted him, and I said, hey, if you're around, maybe get a cup of coffee or just, meet up for a minute. And he said, yeah. So we had a cup of coffee in the morning on a Saturday.
That's great.
He's doing great. His family's doing great. They're a good team. I wouldn't call them a great team, but they're one of the favorites in the Atlantic 10.
All right. By the way, snowing right now outside our studios in Parkville, Towson area.
It is. Absolutely.
So my question about Ryan Odom was to lead into Jim Ferry. What do you know about Coach Ferry now that you didn't know when you heard he got the job?
I think what we found out over the last 5 years is he's more of a tactician than I thought he was. They make terrific halftime adjustments more often than not. And Ryan was too, by the way, great tactician. So Jim makes really good tactical moves at the half. He really knows his personnel very well. He knows he can anticipate what he's going to need. He sees things developing, and he calls on the right guy. But I think the biggest thing that I found out about Jim, aside from that over time, is how connected he wants his team to be. Like, he's really a big off-the-court team bonding type of guy. And it's really important in this day and age because with the portal, players now have a lot more freedom to go year to year to different schools. Like, there are guys playing in college right now that have been at 3 schools in the last 5 years.
Sure.
So continuity is difficult to maintain, especially at that level. So he's really big on off-the-court stuff and, making sure the team bonds, even if it's a new team. Like 2 years ago, Stan, he had 11 new guys. 11 new guys out of 12.
Guys. That's wow.
Okay? And it's, but yet they were together. They were connected. So that, I think, is the biggest thing I've learned about him.
Was disappointed when because your UMBC Retrievers came into Towson and kind of beat down the Tigers the other day.
I wasn't disappointed.
Well, I know, Gary, I know. But when they light fire.
Gary hates Pat Scary.
Wow, jeez, I didn't know that.
I love
Pat.
That's not true. I love Pat.
I know.
That.
Everybody loves Pat.
But when they catch fire shooting like they did in that first half, they seem very, very tough to stop. And then Towson just they're a slow-paced team. They never were able to get back into it. What's the ceiling for UMBC in the America East this year, you think, Gary?
I mean, if I'm being honest about it, just putting on a reporter instead of a personal thing, I mean, I don't think they're going to win the conference. Vermont is still head and shoulders above everybody else. Vermont's one of the best mid-major teams in the country. And UMass Lowell is also a very good mid-major team. So I would still look at those two teams as the top two in the conference. After that, Bryant's still pretty good. I think they would give UMBC, a tough way to go. So I would say UMBC right now, the ceiling – look, I mean, they could do anything. But I think realistically speaking, you're looking at a 4th, 5th, or 6th finish in the conference, and I think they could be 4th, which would give them a home game in the playoffs, which is important. So I think realistically that's probably where you're looking at UMBC. On a night-in, night-out basis, the Retrievers can play with anybody if they shoot. But they have some height issues, so they're not going to be able to stay with Vermont more than likely. UMass Lowell also has some big guys. So I would say realistically they're in that 3rd, 4th, 5th, type of category.
We're talking with Gary Stein. Stein on Sports, WCBM Radio from 6:30 a.m. till 11:30 a.m., Gary?
6 a.m., 11:30
6 a.m. to 11:30, Monday through Friday on WCBM Radio. A few more minutes with you, Gary. I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about Steelers Week. Are you shocked? We've had Bo Smolka on from Press Box, and we've just had Brooke Pryor, who's a female with ESPN Pittsburgh, who covers the Steelers, very knowledgeable. And we've gone through everything on both sides of this. Are you shocked, though, at a 6.5-point line? And is it George Pickens' absence that significant in the eyes of the odds makers?
I mean, I wouldn't say I'm shocked. I think I'm surprised. That's for sure. I think Pickens has something to do with it. I think the home field advantage has something to do with it. But I think that the biggest thing is the change in the Ravens' defense from game 1 against Pittsburgh to today. And if you remember, that was about 4 weeks ago. They had just brought on Dean Pease, so now he's been in there for 5 weeks. They still had, Ojabo was starting back then. He's not starting anymore. They had, Simpson at linebacker. He's not starting anymore. So they've got, Malik Harrison in there now. They've got Board in there. Pierce is back. Travis Jones is healthy. Broderick Washington is back. They're going to be much more formidable, I think, defensively now. Kyle Hamilton, obviously, the key in the back.
Yep.
Humphrey's having an all-pro year. So I think it's those changes on the Ravens' defense that has kind of turned that odds around. And then the other thing is with Pickens out, I don't know if you saw the game, but last week Wilson struggled against Philly.
Yeah.
They only had 163 yards passing in that game. That was their lowest total of the year. So I think it's all of that. But still, I'm surprised. 6 is a big number. 6.5 a big number.
I asked this of Bo Smolka, and he said, look, it's Zach Orr's defense. Would Zach Orr have come to the same conclusions had they not brought in Dean Pease about some of those position shifts and personnel movements on defense?
Stan, that's a great question. I don't know the answer. Bo may know more because he covers them every day. I'm not there every day.
Yeah, I know.
I really don't know the answer to that. I think that, the players may have helped him get there.
Folks, these are the kind of insights you get on Stein on Sports.
Wow, Stan.
I'm trying to be honest with you.
I got you.
No,
I'm kidding.
I think the players may have helped him get there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really don't know how much Zach Orr really knows, to tell you the truth. I think bringing in Dean Pease was a master stroke.
Yeah,
to be honest with you.
Yeah. Do you have any idea? I could ask. How did that come about? Do you know much about that? In other words,
I know a little bit.
Was it Zach?
Yeah, no, I know.
Did Zach go to Harbaugh and say, "Hey, I need a little help," or was it Harbaugh saying, "Hey, what do you think about the idea of bringing Dean Pease in?"
Well, it was kind of a combination of both, but I can tell you this.
Yeah.
I think actually Zach kind of started it and he didn't start it right away. Like, he started it way back. I don't remember what week it was and who the opponent was. It may have been Cincinnati. It may have actually been the first Cincinnati game.
Right.
Where Zach came to Harbaugh and said, yeah, look, I'm open to anything, and then maybe it didn't happen right away with Dean Pease. Okay. It may have taken another couple weeks. But I know that Zach came to Harbaugh and said, "I'm open to anything."
Right.
And so therefore they figured it out after that. And that was a great move. It was a great move.
And did Zach play for Dean?
Zach was there. He started in 17. He had about a 2-3 year. I think he did.
Yeah.
Actually,
okay.
Yeah.
So there was a relationship.
Pease was back. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's been.
Let me tell you though what I think the biggest key to this game is tomorrow.
Yep.
And you've probably heard these quotes before. You know how when Harbaugh talks about, and Harbaugh's not the only one. There's others that talk about Lamar. They talk about he's chasing perfection. Have you heard that before?
Yeah.
Okay. He shouldn't be. Chasing perfection to me is it's impossible. You can chase it, okay, but you're not going to get it. No game's going to be perfect. No player's perfect. Instead of chasing perfection and lauding that, what I think he should be doing is chasing patience. The key to beating Pittsburgh and Kansas City is not being perfect. It's being patient. It's allowing the playmakers around you to make plays. It's taking the 3-yard gain. It's dumping it off for a 5-yard gain.
But
it's not running around back there and stiff-arming guys and looking downfield for a 40-yarder. That's not going to win against Pittsburgh and Kansas City.
But isn't that our argument that we get back to? I know you're still a Harbaugh guy, and I'm not. Isn't that John's lack of patience rather than Lamar's?
John doesn't call the plays, if that's what you're saying, number one. Todd Monken does. John has the ability to override, but he doesn't for the most part. So it's Todd. But Stan, but even then, okay, the reason why Lamar runs around the whole time? Because he doesn't go through his progressions.
Right.
If he stayed in the pocket and he went through his progressions,
quarterback. He's not the normal quarterback.
No.
Yeah.
let me tell you something. It's great to have a second play when you run around.
Yeah.
But you know what? The first play may have worked.
Right.
It may not have worked for 40 yards, but it could have worked for 6.
Right.
And Pittsburgh gives you that. Pittsburgh wants you to run around. Kansas City wants you to run around. They want you to look downfield because they're going to take that crap away. So they goad you into doing that. You have to be patient. You can run around against Cincinnati, against Cleveland. You can Denver. You can run around against those teams. You can beat that. You can beat the daylights out of those guys. But you can't run around against these guys. That's where the Ray.
That is the insights you get on Stein on Sports. That was a great insight, Gary. Seriously.
There we go. So
when
Gary,
you're talking about football.
Yeah.
Well, do you think the Ravens are going to win tomorrow? I guess first, before I get to my next question.
With some hesitation, yes.
Okay. Yeah. By less than 6.5 points. It feels like then is your sense.
It feels to me that way because of the history. Yes, I would take the points if that's what you're asking.
Okay. So you know my brother Lucas. He's home this week from Seattle, and he wanted awesome. me to. He's also hanging out in studio today, and he wanted me to. Or do you want to ask Gary the question?
I'll ask.
All right. Here's Lucas. Gary.
Lucas,
what's up,
my
Gary?
man?
I miss you, man.
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
He never stops thinking about you, Gary.
Yeah. You wake me up
Lucas.
in the morning, man.
Good. Lucas, I just want to tell you.
Go ahead.
I just want to tell you, I thank you for doing what you do and being who you are.
Hey, I do it for you, man. I do it for you.
But
next time I'm at home, we should meet up sometime. Anyway, real quick.
Absolutely.
Who you got for the football playoff? Starts tonight, starts tomorrow. Who you got winning it all?
Are you talking about college?
College, yeah.
Okay. Well, tonight I like Notre Dame.
Yeah.
I think Indiana has had a great year, obviously, but I just can't see him going into Notre Dame and beating them. But who knows? But anyway, so tonight I'll take Notre Dame. Tomorrow I'll take Penn State. I'll take Ohio State. And what's the other game? Clemson, Texas.
Yeah,
I'll take
right.
Texas. I think I'm going to take all the home teams. Okay.
All right, but who do you think's going to win
round.
the whole? Who do you think's going to win the whole thing? That was
I think Oregon is still the number one team, the number one team to beat, and they're going to win it.
Nice.
All right.
Yeah.
Gary Stein, many thanks for joining us as always. Again, Stein on Sports from 6 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. on WCBM Radio. Let's catch up,
And Stanley,
happy holidays to you guys.
We will. And Stanley, don't forget, tomorrow, patience over perfection. That'll win the game.
I like that's a great column. I might steal that. All right, buddy.
Steal
I'll
it.
talk to you soon.
See you, man.
Bye.
Bye.
Gary Stein. Great insights in football on Gary Stein. Patience over perfection. That's
I like
the kind
that.
of stuff I might have come up with 20 years ago.
It's good life advice too, you know.
Yeah, it is.
Not
good
just
advice.
Steelers football.
Hey, Griffin, before we play the interview that we got earlier this morning with Mr. Jim Bowden of SiriusXM, The Athletic, and CBS Sports Online, tell us what's going on at Live Casino.
I would love to, Stan. You are getting $7 in free slot play over at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland because every time Baltimore's football team or Washington's football team scores a touchdown during their home games this season, Live Rewards members are getting $7 in
If you're
free
on the
slot
slot
play.
machine.
That is correct. I'm glad you brought that up. You have to have your Live Rewards card in the slot machine, any slot machine on the floor, and be actively playing in order to get your prize. And it is valid for slot play only. But once those touchdowns score for Baltimore and Washington this weekend or any weekend that they are home, you will be getting $7 in free slots. Adirondack Mills must be 21.
So can you
Hold on, Stan.
Okay,
Please play
go ahead.
responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
So can you be watching a game at the casino and you see they're in the red zone?
Oh,
And
yeah,
then-
maybe you
and
run
then
over.
zip in.
That is a really good strategy, Stan. I
feel
think
like
that's
that's the way to do it.
that is probably the way to do it.
Yeah.
I was doing.
I've done it
I was doing.
many
Stan,
times.
I was doing your bit a minute ago, and MLB trade rumors brought up that the Twins are listening to offers about Pablo Lopez.
I like him.
You do like Pablo Lopez?
Yeah, I like him. I like him just fine.
If that's the only starting pitching move the Orioles make the rest of the way.
Well, they've got Sagano.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
Pablo Lopez is a number 2.
Okay.
You know, I think he's a number 2, solid number 2. It's not Corbin Burns, but
No,
it's
it is not.
pretty good. I don't like Corbin Burns at 8 years. I'm sorry.
Right.
Even, so I think there are other possibilities there. But somebody smarter than me and smarter than you, not smarter than Lucas, Bass,
close call there.
is Jim Bowden. And we had a chance to chat with Jim a little bit earlier this morning. And joining us now, as promised, is one of my favorite content providers, the former general manager of the Cincinnati Reds, Washington Nationals, and long time with the New York Yankees, right, in the front office of the Yankees, Jim?
Yeah, I had a great time there with Brian Cashman back in the day. It was a lot of fun.
I'll bet you did. Wanted to talk to you about the Orioles offseason, but before I do that, just had to ask you something I've never asked before. You are really an incredible baseball mind. When you left the Nationals, did you think that was the end of your management career? And do you view it as closed, that you won't work for a team again?
Oh, I've turned down 3 or 4 different offers to go back to the front office, but the reality is I don't want to work the hours that job takes, right? Because it's basically 18 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it's not something that I am interested in jumping back in. I love this side of things because, look, I get to still deal with the 30 GMs on a regular basis. I still get to represent them, but I'm on their side, right? Yep. When you're a GM, you're always competing with them. So, yeah, I mean, I've had opportunities not to be a GM, but front office spots that I had turned down because I like this lifestyle better.
All right. Thank you for that answer. Interesting. Mike Elias, have you played golf before? You're a golfer at all?
I am not a golfer.
Okay,
no interest in golf.
But you understand.
Takes too much time.
You understand. I couldn't agree more with you. But you understand the concept that a lot of people can drive the ball deep, and then it's the game that closer to the hole that's the important part at a lot of levels. Is Mike Elias at the point in his career where he's going to be judged by how he chips and putts rather than the big picture of hitting the ball deep?
Yeah, I like the way you kind of did that analogy. So hitting the ball deep is building an organization filled with talent, right, through the draft. And certainly when you look at Gunnar Henderson and Adley Rutschman and Colton Cowser and Enrique Bradfield and Colby Mayo and Grayson Rodriguez, I mean, look, you got a lot of great talented players that you built a core that has the capability of winning a world championship. But now it's about putting a team together that wins, right? Yeah. Once you get that core, then it is the only thing that matters is getting it in the hole. It is that last putt, right, to win. You want to win in golf. It's that last putt. You got to make it. And so here he is. Now, I think people need to give him more credit than they give him on what he did a year ago. He made the trade for Corbin Burns. Yeah, it was only 1 year of Burns so far, but he went out and did that. And so he showed Oriole fans and the world that in the biggest moments, yes, he can come through. Now, unfortunately, for whatever reason, it didn't work out last year for Baltimore. There's a lot of different reasons, as you know.
Sure.
But the fact that he went and did that, I don't want people to forget that, because it seems to me that a lot of people forget that he did that. He went out and made that trade. And by the way, he did it without giving up his top prospects. So not only did he make that move, but he did it without making the top prospects. That being said, look, I know where you're going with this. I totally get it. Give him some time, though. I want to see him finish the job. You know, one of the things when you go back in history and look at teams that win the championship, a lot of times it's those last pieces, right?
Sure.
It was when the Cubs went and got John Lester to finish the job, right?
Yep.
It's when the Nationals went and got Max Scherzer, finish the job, or the Astros with Justin Verlander to finish the job. And so, you know, you've got this window right here, and let's give him time to do it. It's tricky, right? Because there's a lot of finances. You want to hold on to your prospects because of the window, but you also got to win in this window. And you can't just keep kicking the can, you know, down the road.
Jim, big question about Elias's draft record. It's hindsight's always 20/20. Did he make the wrong pick in Rutschman over Witt?
I mean, look, it's easy after the fact, right? After the fact, we can all do it. I mean, look at all the teams that passed on Mike Trout or Clayton Kershaw or Madison Bumgarner. It's not that easy. You know, at the time, you're talking about a generational catcher in Adley Rutschman, right? So, I don't think it's fair to come back afterwards and say, did he? I mean, sure, in retrospect, sure, he'd rather have Bobby Witt Jr. right now. But I don't think that's fair to do that because none of us know for sure what they're going to become. I mean, where did Aaron Judge get drafted as an example? So, yeah, after the fact, it's easy. But at the time, did it make sense? Absolutely.
Tell me what you thought of the second half of Adley Rutschman last year, and does it scare you moving forward, or you think it's an aberration or an injury?
I think it's the best thing that could have happened to Adley Rutschman. When players get humble, they figure it out. And, a lot of these Major League Baseball players never fail. They don't do it in Little League. They don't do it in junior high, high school. They go on to college. They never fail. They go to the minor leagues. They don't fail. And so when you fail for the first time, it's how you rebound. It's how you learn. It's how you pick yourself up. It's how you make sure it doesn't happen the next time. I'll take Adley Rutschman over any catcher in baseball, and it's not even debatable for me. That's the guy I want. I'm expecting him to have a huge year this year, and I'm expecting him to be in the MVP conversation.
Interesting. Last year at the trade deadline, clearly Mike had been obsessed with fixing the pitching that had been so problematic and injury-laden, and he made two trades. He picked up Zach Eflin, and he picked up Trevor Rogers. We all know what Eflin did, and looking forward to seeing him pitch this year. Is Trevor Rogers savable?
I don't know the answer to that question. I certainly wouldn't go into 2025 thinking he is. The one thing I learned over the years, though, is that a lot of times when you've had injuries, it takes 2-3 years before you can come back. I mean, he's only 27 years old, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And so he's young enough. I saw him before he ever got injured with Miami. I saw him pitch a lot, and he had tremendous high potential. So is there a possibility he can come back to that level at some point? Yeah, I mean, there is. I mean, that doesn't mean he's going to, right?
Yep.
It's kind of like the Nationals yesterday signing Mike Soroka. I don't know if Soroka's ever going to come back and be the pitcher that I saw him with Atlanta 4 or 5 years ago, but if he does, you got something. So that's kind of how I view him. For the Orioles right now, though, you have to look at this team and say, okay, our window to win a World Series is we're in it.
Yeah.
So is that our best shot? And I think with Eflin and Grayson Rodriguez and Dean Kramer, you feel good about it. And I like the gamble he took with Sagano because he only had to give him a 1-year deal. And so you look at his success in Japan. I see no reason why he can't come over here and have success as well. So we need one more starter, the Orioles do, and we need to keep adding the bullpen because you don't get enough. And we learned that last year. I mean, look at the Los Angeles Dodgers. They went through 12 starting pitchers. And somehow still had the best regular season record. And we saw in the postseason, the teams that had the best and deepest bullpens were the ones standing at the end of the year. So, look, the Orioles have the position players, mix and match. You got enough balance to run the table. You do, but you got to keep adding the pitching. I mean, the Yankees went at and Max Fried and Devin Williams. Those were significant pickups.
No question.
And the Red Sox are out there right now. They're in on Corbin Burns. They're in on Tanner Scott. I mean, they're going full bore as well. And, that division's not going to be easy. So for me, the obsession has to be pitching, and more pitching.
The Dodgers won last year. Just a couple more questions, Jim. I know you're up against it a little bit time-wise. The Dodgers last year won because they had so much depth, people coming off the IL all season long at the back end of their staff. Do you think Mike needs to work on that as well? Because it's right at this point, it's almost like, well, we're getting Bautista back. I don't think you can count on him being Bautista from day one.
You never get enough pitching. I don't care who you are. Yeah, you never get enough. Just keep being obsessed with it and keep adding depth, keep adding quality, depth, quality. You can't add enough. It's a long season. Injuries are going to happen. And, you watch what the Dodgers are doing. It's a very fascinating study because they're building their team for October.
Yeah.
So they're building a pitching staff for October. They're gonna baby their pitchers. You're not gonna see guys throw 200 innings, 190 innings, 180 innings anymore in Los Angeles.
Right.
120 to 150. That's gonna be it, and we're gonna save all the innings for October. Can't get enough.
Fascinating. The starting pitching. Last question for you, Jim. is who is out there that you think is a perfect fit for the Orioles?
Well, you had him. It's Burns. Sasaki. I mean, those are the two guys that move the needle for me. Like, I like those game one starters. I like to look up and know I have an ace.
Yeah.
I get to October, I want the ace that can shut you down. There's two guys on the open market that do that, Burns and Sasaki. That's it. So, yeah, I want you to keep Burns. I love what he did last year in Baltimore. So I know it's going to be expensive, and I know you want to save your money for the young kids, but you also have to look at the window. Your window with this group, you don't know for sure you're going to be able to keep all these kids 3 years from now, 4 years from now. So this is your run. You want to bring a world championship to Baltimore. You want those crab cakes to taste better. Do everything you can to win now. And look, you're going to have to lose money now. Okay, you'll make it up in 4 years. You can lower the payroll in 4 years. But if you win a world championship in the next 4 years, it'll pay for itself. This is when an owner hands the checkbook to Mike Elias and say, do what you need to do.
Jim Bowden, he writes for The Athletic. He's also on SiriusXM, and quite a bit. I see him all the time popping up on CBS Sports online. Really appreciate the time, Jim.
Thank you for having me on. Appreciate it.
All right, that was Jim Bowden. If you want to talk baseball, he's an expert and a great content provider. If you want to talk about problem gambling, Mary Drexler, who is the program director for the Maryland Center of Excellence on Problem Gambling, is the person to turn to, and she is with us now. Again, that number, 1-800-GAMBLER, is the lifeline you need if you have a serious gambling problem or you think you have a problem. Mary Drexler joins us. First of all, happy holidays to you.
Happy holidays to you, and thank you for having me.
You brought up something off the air just as we were talking while the Jim Bowden interview ran, which we recorded earlier this morning. Christmas is a unique time for gifts for people and gifts for kids. Tell us a little bit about a push that the center is making right now.
Yeah, there is actually a national campaign of which we take part in that was started by the National Council on Problem Gambling called Gift Responsibly. And the purpose behind this is to remind parents and significant others that not to gift lottery tickets to teens or children under the age of 18. And the reason behind that is research shows us that the earlier someone starts gambling, the more apt they are to develop a gambling problem when they're an adult. So we're really asking people to think and not be buying lottery tickets for kids and putting it in their stockings. And we just hope parents are listening to that, because we don't want to see young kids start to get addicted to any type of gambling.
You know, I've been pretty open about the fact that I'm a compulsive gambler. Doesn't mean I don't still gamble, but I've got it. I'm humble enough to understand that at any time I could lose control, but I've got it pretty good control for a long time. But it's interesting because the first thing I ever bet on, I sent out $2 with my cousin Ron, who was going to the Preakness. He was probably 17, and I was 12. I bet on a horse. I love the name Tom Rolfe. And he won the Preakness, and for $2, I won $12. And that probably had something to do with my gradual addiction.
Yeah, research is showing that. They show that children as young as 8 can start on that path towards problem gambling. And we just would like adults to be more responsible and think about that when they're looking at gifts. Give a child a gift, a real gift, and not the lottery ticket.
That's really good advice and interesting advice, because I'd never thought about that. I mean, not that I would have thought about giving an 8-year-old a lottery ticket, but people do, obviously.
They do.
Yeah. We've talked a number of times, and I think we've had some good, frank discussions on this. Yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about your history, because you really worked in Connecticut. You started out for how many years? 12 years?
12 years. I worked with 2-in-1 in Connecticut, was information referral and a crisis suicide hotline.
So you worked that when you were much younger.
It was back in 95 to 2007.
Okay. Wow. You actually talked some people out of suicides?
Yes, we had a large staff for during the day. We were 24/7, but I actually took calls as well because I couldn't expect others to take them if I didn't. But yes, people would call us who were suicidal, whether they had made a plan yet or not. That was part of our job, is to really assess where they were at, listen to them, why they may be feeling this way, and hopefully direct them to the resources they need to stay safe. And I really, in the last year that I worked with 2-on-1, we took on a contract with the Connecticut Council on Problem Gambling to answer some of their calls, which I found really interesting because at that time I didn't know that suicide is the addiction with the highest rate of suicide. Gambling is the addiction with the highest rate of suicide. And that really intrigued me, which led me to my next position, which I eventually took over as executive director of the Connecticut Council on Problem Gambling.
The work in the suicide hotline, though, did you have people that you lost?
It's real hard when you're on a helpline to actually know what the end result is. We do know we got people to the resources they needed. Sometimes it was frustrating because we would get them to go to an emergency room or somewhere, and if they weren't showing the exact symptoms when they got there, they would let them go. And then they'd be back on the phone with us. So that was frustrating to us. But we did know of some of the suicides just by virtue of a repeat caller. And I always say to people, if someone says they're thinking of killing themselves, then take them seriously because there's a problem. Whether they're going to follow through right then, they could follow through 8 years later. So always take it seriously and ask them what's going on and how you can help.
I'm not asking for anybody's name, but do you know of cases where you help somebody get to the help and that you then heard after the fact, like, hey, I really want to thank you. I'm doing terrific now. And
yeah, we used to get calls back. All of the staff at the helpline would get some calls back that would say, thank you. I wouldn't have known where to go or what to do or who to talk to if I hadn't called you. So, yes, we hear it from people, and it makes us feel good that what we're doing is making a difference.
What triggers that episode where someone goes from having a problem, they're now in crisis, they know they've got a problem, but now it's overwhelming and they think about suicide? What is it's always got to be financial, doesn't it?
Well, financial is a huge piece of it, but
losing a wife,
the destruction of the family unit, it impacting your job. You're not going to the job, but while you're at the job, you're thinking about when's your next bet going to be. Just everything comes crashing in, all the lying you've done, so you're feeling more anxiety, you're feeling more isolation because of all the lying. All of that contributes to a point where someone says, everyone's better off without me.
Yeah. It's very, 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 very sad. We're talking with Mary Drexler, Program Director of the Maryland Center of Excellence on Problem Gambling. We had somebody on with us, Will.
Yes.
And I forget Will's last name.
Will Hinman. He's one of our peer support specialists.
Right? Yeah. He was really had a fascinating background. The people that help you, that go out and talk and motivate people that have gambling problems, how effective are they?
Oh, I think they're crucial. I always say that the peers that work at the center, right now we have 5. We're looking to hire 2 more. They're our boots on the ground. They're the people who really make a big difference. Not only are they out there in the community all the time, but they talk at support groups. They do presentations. And the most valuable thing they do is if someone calls 1-800-GAMBLER, they have the option to get directly linked through a warm transfer to one of our peers. Depending on where they live on the state, they'll be transferred to that peer who covers that region. And the peers will stay with them as long as they need them, but they'll meet them where they're at. They're not forcing them to do anything. They're really working with them on what's going to work for them, and it may take a year before they decide they really want to stop, or do they just want some harm reduction and cut back, but they'll work with the person where they're at.
Mary, this might seem like an obvious question. Legalized gambling started in the state, about 10, 12 years ago?
Yeah.
About 12
2010, I believe, 11, the first
so it's
casino.
14 years.
Yeah.
And then legalized sports betting, which is sort of like the rocket fuel to gambling, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because some people just aren't interested in in playing blackjack or or poker or whatever, but everybody loves to watch sports.
Yeah, and it started in 22 in the brick and mortar casinos,
Right.
but then it went mobile.
Right.
And so.
So how has that accelerated the issue?
Well, obviously, it's more easy to do, more accessible. You can do it from your living room couch. So. We have some statistics from the helpline that we're getting calls from younger adult males specifically, and we're starting to get calls from parents of younger adults. And I'm talking 18 to 24.
That
even
realize
though it's
they're watching their children go down this path.
Yeah, and that college age youth, you really aren't supposed to be able to do legalized gambling unless you're 21, but that's not what we're finding. There are ways to do this gambling, even if it's not through the legalized system, but other systems that exist online that aren't going to go away, or bookies in the colleges.
Yeah.
All that still exists.
So it's a pretty multifaceted problem.
Yeah.
The legalization of it, does it give you... Is there an opportunity in the fact that it's legal now that didn't exist before to reach people?
Well, I think the good news, if you want to say, is that there are regulations. And there are regulations to incorporate responsible gambling into it. And responsible gambling practices on the part of the licensed operators. I'd like to see it continue, but even get better, in the sense of sometimes when you see some of the commercials or whatever, you can
the
feel
disclaimer is so fast.
It's so fast and it's so small that I'm not paying attention to it. I'd like to see some legalization of making it clear where on any of their sites, especially online, people can go for help. Somewhere on the homepage, visible and not hidden under some of the drop downs. So that's something we'll continue to work on.
There were some commercials when television gambling ads came that were really earmarked to problem gamblers. I don't recall seeing them as much now. Are they still there?
Yeah, we do have campaigns where we do responsible gambling PSAs. The issue is...
But these were the ones produced by FanDuel and DraftKings.
FanDuel. Yeah, I haven't seen them as much either.
Okay. I just wondered about it. What are some of the bigger pitfalls? Go over it. First of all, we want to give that number out.
Okay.
1-800-GAMBLER.
Yeah.
That's a good number just to write down, put it on your fridge if you even think you're going down the path of having a gambling problem. 1-800-GAMBLER, and they will get you to the help. But for somebody that's sitting there listening to this, that's not me, what are some of the things that people need to know that are pitfalls that they're going down a rabbit hole?
Some of the risks include you're consistently lying about your gambling behavior or activity. You're hiding it. You're starting to see relationships breaking up because people don't know where you are or where you're not.
You're not there.
You're not
and
there.
And even when you're there,
you're not there. All you're doing is thinking about the gambling activity. So that lying, those relationships, I think just consistently having the thoughts about gambling in your head are clearly signs that even if you haven't developed a full-fledged gambling problem, you need to think about, am I heading in that direction? And that's why by reaching out to someone like a peer or a counselor is to talk about what some of those things are. And again, financial is always huge. You're starting to bet more than you can afford to, and you're spending more time betting and more money that you probably can't afford to lose.
Yeah, and the time is a big thing.
Yeah.
And your presence, you're not present when you're with people.
No, and your anxiety goes up. You may begin to isolate more from people so you can bet more. So all of those are things you need to keep in mind.
Remind us again, the phone number is 1-800-GAMBLER. The issue we talked about at the very outset of this, so it's the holiday season right now when people are seeing this about gifting
responsibly. Yeah, it is a campaign. It's actually a national campaign. A lot of states are doing it. It's part of something from the National Council on Problem Gambling. And it's really just to remind parents or significant others, aunts, uncles, whoever it may be in your family, not to gift lottery tickets or put them in stockings for children or teens under the age of 18, because the younger you start, the more apt you are to develop a problem.
All right. Before we let you go, we're talking of 5 days before Christmas right now. Is this the toughest season for problem gamblers?
It is a tough season because people are off. People have time. They may be home and they now can engage on online or mobile gaming. And, you know, that hope to win so I can do more over the holidays is there, that wanting to win, and that is not a guarantee for sure.
All right. She is Mary Drexler. She is the program director of the Maryland Center of Excellence on Problem Gambling. You do a fantastic job.
Thank you.
And I'll look forward to talking to you in January.
All right. Thank you so much,
Have a great holiday season.
You too.
All right. We're going to take our final time out on the program. And leading into that, I just want to tell you that the Governor's Challenge is coming up. The top high school basketball talent from across the country returns to the Wacomico Civic Center December 26th through the 30th. Witness 5 full days of elite competitive competition featuring over 140 high school basketball teams. For tickets and info, visit govchallenge.org. Again, govchallenge.org.
This holiday season for a brand new event. You'll feel like you stepped into a holiday movie. Hartford Holidays is overflowing with the spirit of the holiday season. You'll be amazed by the jaw-dropping light displays, thrilled by a visit to Santa's workshop, and have the holiday time of your life with sleigh rides, a special vendor village, s'mores making stations, and so much more. It's a holiday light experience. New at Ripken Stadium, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, December 6th through December 22nd. For ticket information, head to visithartford.com. You'll have the happiest holiday season ever.
Treat yourself and taste the Baltimore tradition that is the legendary Costas Inn. Hey, it's Stan the Fan Charles. For over 50 years, the Costas Inn has been a Baltimore original, dishing out their amazingly scrumptious, fat, award-winning crab cakes and steamed crabs. Every season is crab season at Costas, so make your plans now by calling 410-477-1975 and reserve your taste of heaven. Sit back, crack some crabs, and watch the Ravens chase down another title on Costas' 15 TVs. On Monday nights, Costas offers their half-pound jumbo lump crab cake with 2 sides for under $30, and there are nightly specials Monday through Friday. So head on down to the Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard or visit them at CostasInn.com.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
The drug scene in Maryland is changing. Fentanyl and xylazine are being added to street drugs, and you may not even know it. Xylazine is not even intended for humans, and fentanyl is an opioid 50 times stronger than heroin, and contributed to over 80% of overdose deaths in our state. Anyone who uses drugs, even occasionally, is at risk of overdose. To learn more, visit stopoverdose.maryland.gov or call or text 988.
The votes were all counted, and the results are official. Royal Farms was named #1 for food in the USA Today 10 Best poll, receiving more votes than any other convenience store chain in America. The next time you want to get some good food fast, doesn't it make sense to go to Royal Farms? Voted best in the USA and home of world-famous chicken. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now, and it's our very special Best of 2024 issue. On the cover, we celebrate our Mo Gabba Sports Person of the Year, Lamar Jackson, as Bo Smolka profiles what the quarterback means to the community beyond the football field. Also inside, we celebrate the top people, performances, and moments of the year in local sports. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always read the entire issue and find the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
Need a trophy or award that's as unique as the achievement? Look no further than Crown Trophy. With locations in Owings Mills and Gaithersburg, they specialize in custom trophies, plaques, and medals for any occasion. From sports and academic awards to employee recognition and corporate gifts, visit crowntrophy.com today and let them help you create a lasting memory for your school, team, or business. Crown Trophy is a proud supporter of the Maryland Public Secondary Schools Athletic Association. crowntrophy.com.
One of the things that's definitely wrong with this country is that this dude still has a job somehow, some way. Glenn Clark.
We are back on GCR, and after our final timeout, and we've had a very spirited show today. Our guests have included Bo Smolka of PressBox, PressBoxOnline.com, Brooke Pryor of ESPN Pittsburgh, who covers the Steelers, Gary Stein, Stein on Sports, on WCBM from 6 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. on the top and bottom of each hour. Jim Bowden from The Athletic, SiriusXM Radio, and also CBS Sports, and Mary Drexler, Program Director, Maryland Center of Excellence on Problem Gambling.
Yeah.
And now it's time for...
And Lucas is here. I don't even get this many guests for Glenn
Lucas
shows.
Bass, of course.
Busy day.
Yeah.
Busy day.
What was I gonna? I was gonna say. Oh, I did pull up when I was talking about the largest margin of victory that the Ravens have had. So it was in fact that 35-7 game. I remember it because I think that was the first Ravens Steelers game I went to when I was like 11 years old. But yeah, that 35-7 in 2011.
How old are you now? 12.
Yeah, but I age about a year. I know it looks like I'm 12. But yeah, what am I now? 24. 24.
God. How old are you, Lucas?
Guess. Guess.
22.
Yeah, 22.
Wow.
Very good.
Stan knows his age.
Red Sox signed Patrick Sandoval.
Oh, yeah. I didn't mean to ask you what your thoughts on that one.
From the Angels. A nice pickup. It's a year. Yeah, he's not going to pitch this year.
I think he got his Tommy John like around the same time or slightly after Bradish did, so he could come back late.
Be back in August or so. But it's a 2-year deal, I'm sure.
Yes, I believe it was.
The Blue Jays are receiving trade interest in Bo Bichette. No big surprise there. Twins have listened to trade offers on Pablo Lopez, who I think would be a good fit with the Orioles.
Yeah.
Not a great pitcher, but again, I don't think you need great starters. I'd be much more inclined to want to spend $56 million on Tanner Scott than $250 million on Corbin Burns. But that's me.
Before tidbit, Lucas wanted to go over Wizards Corner.
Wizards big win last night against their divisional opponent, the Hornets.
Oh, divisional opponent, yeah, of course. Everyone knows those NBA
Bilal
divisional.
had a crazy
turn
dunk.
This back up. There you go.
Is
There
better?
you go. Yeah, that's much
Bilal had a crazy dunk. Did I ask you earlier? Did you see it?
I did see it. Yeah.
All
I guess
7
I
foot.
pulled the highlight up.
All 7 feet got into it. So
that's a great report.
That's
Four 4 wins. 4
wins.
wins.
Wow.
4-24.
We are
4-21, I think.
Yeah, they're still the
much
worst,
better,
right?
Much better than I thought.
They're still the
Waiting
worst
for
right?
the Pelicans game. I think that's sometime in February when we see who the worst
That'll
of the
be
worst
the toilet bowl right there.
Yeah.
Is the number 1 pick going to be Cooper Flag?
I think so. Fail for flag is what I'm saying.
Fail
Yeah,
for flag.
I think so.
I'm gonna be honest. I haven't been watching college basketball much this year. I've been
From the Duke games I've watched, Cooper Flag looks like the real deal in my opinion.
I don't even want him.
I'd be.
He's not quite as great as I thought he would be, but boy, he's a savant.
Yeah.
He really knows the game.
And obviously, it's not like I'm watching every Duke game, but like I've watched Duke playing against real opponents, and that's when he's looked. I feel like he's looked like.
Who's
a
the favorite to
basketball
win
player.
the championship right now? Is it Tennessee?
I think it's the college. Yeah, I think it is Tennessee. At least because they're still number 1.
There's a real favorite. I mean, Alabama.
Kansas is probably
good.
up there.
Auburn's very good.
Kansas barely beat North Dakota the other. Did you see that? They barely beat North Dakota.
Let's move along.
You mean Alabama or you mean
Let's move along, and it's time for our tidbit of the day.
The top high school basketball talent from across the country once again returns to the Wycomico Civic Center December 26th through the 30th for the Governor's Challenge, presented by Pohanka of Salisbury. Witness 5 full days of elite competition featuring over 140 high school basketball teams from 16 states plus Canada. Multiple top 10 teams and nationally ranked players will display their talents on the court. Don't miss the best experience in high school hoops. For tickets and information, visit govchallenge.org.
All right. By the way, so Tennessee is the third odds-on favorite to be to win the college basketball national championship. There are 2 teams with better odds.
Gonzaga?
Not Gonzaga.
Where are they?
Gonzaga's 5th.
How about Connecticut?
Nope, not UConn. They're 6th.
Maryland slide up there?
They've looked human the last couple weeks. No, not
Duke?
Duke is 2nd.
Yeah.
1 team better odds than Duke.
Auburn
is number 1.
Yeah.
Auburn is number 1. Yeah,
Auburn's
Janai Baroom looks pretty legit. Houston rounds out the top 6
I'll
there.
tell you something
Odds-on
about
favorites.
this Maryland team. They, by the end of the year, they could be. I'm not predicting there'll be a real challenge to win it all, but I think they could go. They could make Sweet 16 run.
I hope you're right, Stan. I mean, they do look. I mean, it looks like Willard has done a really good job of like navigating the portal. Like it's been very impressive, and a lot of people that compliment. I mean, I feel like Derek Queen can compliment with anyone, because he's looked that good. Maybe that'll be who the Wizards take. You think they'll take?
That'd be awesome.
Keep him a little local.
Yeah.
That'd be fun. Okay, so last night we had if anyone was watching, I'm sure everyone or most people were watching. So right before halftime, Jim Harbaugh had the Chargers wait for a fair catch with the who the heck were they? The Broncos punting from their own half of the field. What a meltdown by the Broncos as well. That was just
it was ugly.
A 21-6 run by the Chargers late to go get that win. But yeah, then Cameron Dicker would attempt a free kick, 57-yarder, so very makeable for today's field goal kickers. But still had to make it. Just kind of weird look to it. If anyone
you can't
just
block
flipped
that,
it on,
right?
no, it's a free kick. It's a free kick.
That's weird.
And so it's when you punt from your own half, and that if that were to be the final play of the half, and you wait for a fair catch, you can take a free kick from wherever
so
you.
it has
what
to
yard
end the
line
half.
did he? What yard line?
So he
did
ended up kicking it from the 40.
It was a 57-yarder, so I think it was a 47-yard
from the 47-yard line, because he waited for the fair catch like inside their own 40, so it would have been like a 67-yarder.
Longer than that, like
70. Like a
70-yard
70-yarder
penalty.
Yeah, but since they ran into the Chargers returner, there was a 15-yard penalty for running into the returner on the after you wait for a fair catch.
So it turned out to be a 57-yard
Yes.
field goal attempt, and did he make it?
He did. He did.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was the first.
Kind of changed the momentum of the game.
It kind of did. It really did. It was just. I didn't like the time management of both the teams at the end of the half there.
It felt weird.
Anyway, the last guy to drill a free kick back in 1976. Stan. Who was?
1976.
Yeah.
Jim Bakken.
Nope. I don't even know what team this guy was on.
Charlie Gugelak.
The Orioles or something.
I have no.
I want to see.
Let me think of some like 1970s names
what
here.
team he was on, just to see if I can't give you. He was a what? He was also a San Diego Charger.
Interesting.
Well, he was a San Diego Charger.
I didn't know that they were
Charger.
the team back then.
Chris.
No.
Chris somebody.
Ray
Donovan.
No.
Ray Donovan.
Ray
Guy. Ray Guy. No
Ray Wersching.
Oh, Wersching.
Ray
I thought he
Wersching
was-
went on the
I
kick
didn't
for the
think he was on the
49ers.
Chargers.
Oh, that's what it was.
Is
Yeah,
that what
that's
he's mostly
changed
remembered
it.
for?
I guess so. He won
He
2
was a
Super
good kicker,
Bowls.
Ray Wersching.
Yeah, he
Is
was
he
the
in
NFL
Canton?
scoring leader in '84. No, he's not.
No, he
ever.
was a good kicker.
He was second team All-Pro in 1986. That was his second to last season as well. He was born in Austria.
Wow.
Last guy to make a free kick. And then Lucas, I think you had one tidbit as well that you wanted.
Yeah, so LeBron James last night has broke the record. Now he's the all-time player.
Triple doubles.
Well, not for triple doubles, for active player for all-time minutes.
Well, so both, technically both, but
for
yes.
both,
Yeah.
sorry.
He
But
broke the record for all-time minutes played in NBA history.
It's gonna be
okay.
And Lucas wants
it
to
was
ask
at
the question.
57,472 minutes.
Wow.
So yeah, I don't know.
57,400
So who?
minutes.
I want to know who are the other active players right now. Top 10. So I guess
Wow, top 10.
9.
Top 10.
They're all notable.
That's all right.
Like,
We'll get it. We'll get it.
Easy.
Sam. We'll get it. We'll get it. So active players, most minutes
to
played.
who probably would
Jimmy
break his
Butler.
record. No,
That's a good guess. Oh
Good
man,
guess.
he would have been on mine.
He
Kevin Durant.
He's 23.
Really?
KD, yes.
Steph Curry.
KD and Curry, yes.
Is that top 3? Where are they at?
KD's 4. Steph is 10.
Okay.
And LeBron's obviously 1.
How about the big guy with the Celtics?
Yep.
He's
Al
on
Horford.
there. What's his name?
Al Horford.
Yeah.
He's 9.
Wow, well done,
Okay,
Stan.
so we got 3 of them.
You need
James Harden.
Harden's on there too, 6.
Russ Westbrook.
Yep, he's 3.
Wow.
Who's 2?
We're doing good.
Chris Paul.
Yeah.
CP3.
He's
2?
Yeah, he's 2. And he's only at 44,000 minutes, so he's 13,000.
So what do we got? 4 more?
5, 7, and 8, yeah.
Udonis Haslam's not still playing, is he?
No. Whenever he
who else?
Who's an old timer with God, I can't think.
Not
of
Jimmy
old
I'm not
Butler.
sure he does any hints
Like
right
I want
now.
to say Cole. No, because Kawhi's too injured. Same with Embiid. Not Embiid or Kawhi.
Embiid definitely not. He's not even old enough.
How about Sarunas? Is he still
Sarunas?
playing?
I don't think
Sarunas?
he's
I went to
playing.
high school with a kid named Sarunas.
Who's that guy that the Wizards had him for like 1 or
Marcin Gortat? No.
No, I
Nene?
wish. Nene? Montrezl Harrell?
Montrezl Harrell?
I like that guy.
I don't think he's up. Giannis isn't up there yet.
Giannis, no, he's not that
Oh,
old.
Damian Lillard.
Lillard, no, he's in the top 20 though.
I can't think of old players.
I know.
They're not
they
even.
should
So
be able
the
to
youngest
think.
guy is one that you haven't guessed. He's at 5.
I feel like not Trae Young. He plays
No,
a
not
lot.
Trae
I
Young.
don't think he's healthy.
The youngest guy's 35, so it's not. Like
Okay,
he's
okay.
That young.
Jeez.
They're all kind of
How about,
they're all kind of journeymen.
How about
obviously.
who's the guy that's with the 76ers now?
No, you thinking of Paul George?
Paul George.
No, that's
he's,
a good guess.
He's in there
Dan.
though.
Where's Paul George at?
A couple of these guys.
We got 3 left.
I don't want to give too many hints.
No, it's a good. This is a good one, Stan.
All right.
Hold
Yeah,
on.
it's a good one, but I
You're doing a show, Stan.
They're-
Come on.
Yeah.
Hold on. All right. I gotta let me think through this.
They were a big part of a championship team a couple years ago. I forget what year it was, but I'm not going to give the.
Jamal
I guess that
Murray's
wasn't
not up
really
there
a
yet.
hint.
No, he's
How about
under
Draymond?
30.
Draymond. No.
Oh, that's a good one. Clay.
Clay. No.
Kyrie's not. No, it can't be.
No, not Kyrie. I'll give you
Kevin Love, is he still active?
No, not Kevin Love. I don't know if he's active. I think he is. I looked him up the other day.
All right. Give me, I guess, a conference. I don't want.
They're all split up.
Zach
right
Randolph's
now.
not still playing.
One of them is
Either
on
the
the
G-
76ers
either the Gasol
right
still
now,
playing?
but I think he's hurt. That's why he's
Okay.
being quiet. No, not one of the Gasols.
I don't know
Gasol's
who could be who did he play on before the Sixers?
I would say, the Raptors would probably be a big one.
Okay, so
Big hint there.
Kyle Lowry.
Kyle Lowry is 7.
Lowry is 7.
And
How many
then
we have left?
The youngest guy, you have 5 and 8.
Okay.
Who,
Darn. Who's top 5 that I haven't named yet?
I've actually always liked this guy. USC kid from Compton.
Oh, of course.
Who?
He went to USC, drafted in 2009.
Oh man.
He's been around the league.
Glenn
He's
be very
a 6-time
disappointed in me.
All-Star, 2-time second team.
Glenn be very disappointed in me. He's like a scoring champion.
He was on the Bulls before the Kings, but that's not even what he's most known for. The team before the Bulls, who he was drafted by. He won a championship.
Rudy
there.
Gay's not active.
No.
Because Rudy Gay just announced his retirement recently. Carmelo's not active.
No, this guy.
USC. Why can't
I don't really want to say. Hey, Kyle Lowry. You're close with Kyle Lowry. He was on this team with Kyle Lowry when they won the championship.
What the heck? Why can't I think
In,
of
I
not
don't
Fred
know what
Van
year
Vliet?
It was like maybe 2017. No, not Fred Van Vliet.
But he was a Raptor.
Oh, he was on the Spurs as well. Yeah, he was a Raptor. You really don't know this guy?
Is he a guard? What?
Now, yeah, he's a guard.
Why can't
He's
I?
on the
think of-
Kings now.
The Kings. De'Aaron Fox.
No. Starts with a D. 2 D's. First and last name start with a D.
Not Domantas Sabonis, because
No.
D. What? Why can't I think of? He's a King now.
He's a King now.
Yeah, that's why.
DeMar.
Oh my gosh, DeMar DeRozan. That is a good
DeRozan.
one. Darn.
And
how
that's
did
not
I
even the
not
last
get
one.
DeRozan?
Now I have to hold your hand for this guy too.
Yeah.
This
He's
guy.
fifth.
He was,
DeRozan is 5th.
Rosen was 5th. Mike Conley. Ooh.
That's a good one.
There you
Mike
go,
Conley.
Mike
I should have known Mike Conley and DeMar DeRozan. All right, good. Hey, that's a good one, Luke. I like that one.
Mike Conley. Had to get the basketball talk in there. Yeah. Now you know.
Okay.
Who's 11?
That leads us to one last bit on the show, and that is Totally Tubular.
Have you ever thought of taking a cruise to these wonderful destinations with sunny skies and beautiful beaches? Well, wait no longer. We're ready for you to cruise from the Cruise Maryland Terminal.
Have a little phrase that you can go from baggage to margarita in about 15 minutes.
Choose fun with an array of destinations, onboard activities, entertainment, and world-class cuisine.
Contact your travel agent and book your cruise today. Let your adventure begin.
All right, we'll start with the sports tubular-wise here. All right, so we got 3 college football games today. Obviously, the big one on ESPN and ABC at 8 will be Indiana-Notre Dame. Stan, who you got?
I got Notre Dame.
Okay.
Reluctantly Notre Dame.
Reluctantly.
I hate Notre Dame.
Okay. But you don't. But are you an Indiana guy? Or
I do like Indiana.
The other bowl games today at right now, just kicked off. The Cure Bowl, Ohio, Jacksonville State.
Give me the Gamecocks.
They lost everybody.
What station is it on?
Ohio's kept all their guys stayed. No one transferred out.
CBS.
That is on ESPN right now.
ESPN.
Then on ESPN 2 will be the Gasparilla Bowl. You got Tulane, Florida.
Gators.
As
much as I like Tulane as well.
Grambling, Norfolk State will be on ESPNU. That's college basketball, followed by Delaware State. Yeah, Michael Vick, head coach at Norfolk State now. Not the basketball team, but the football team. Delaware State, Alabama State, both of those from Uncasville, Connecticut. Is that how you say it, Uncasville? That's college basketball. Cincinnati, Dayton, a top 25 matchup in Cincinnati. That's on ESPNU as well. St. John's, Providence, some solid college basketball today. If you want the other college basketball to go to glennclarkradio.com. The Caps are in action tonight, Monumental against the Carolina Hurricanes.
Big game.
At 7 p.m. WWE SmackDown at 8 on USA Network. All right, tomorrow, Hopkins. We talked to James Ranello, the quarterback of the Johns Hopkins football team yesterday. They got a big game against Mount Union tomorrow at noon. You can catch it on ESPN Plus.
Where's that game at?
That is at Mount Union.
Okay.
Yeah, at Mount Union.
Where's Mount Union?
Mount Union in Ohio, New York. No, New York. I think Ohio or New York. I don't know.
Sounds like
it's going to be cold up there too.
Yeah.
Yes,
it will be cold. ESPN Plus also is going to have Mount St. Mary's is taking on Miami. I guess that's the U Miami. Navy Coppin will be at 1 p.m. tomorrow. UMBC is at Marist in Poughkeepsie tomorrow. Hampton will be visiting Loyola. All that's on ESPN Plus. Texans Chiefs at 1 o'clock on NBC. Maryland Syracuse is at noon. That'll be on ESPN. That one played in Brooklyn. Purdue Auburn. That's a big matchup at 4:30. That one's going to be played in Birmingham. So technically a neutral game, but that's more or less a home game for Auburn there. The USC UConn women play at 8 o'clock on Fox. That's a big game. Steelers Ravens at 4:30 will be on Fox right before USC UConn. Marquette Xavier men's college basketball. Then you got the college football playoff, ABC and ESPN for Tennessee Ohio State at 8. TNT Max for the first 2 games. SMU Penn State at 12. Clemson Texas at 4 o'clock. I'm just scanning through here. Any other big games?
Bowls.
Doesn't really. No, there's no bowl. I think there's like an FCS.
Tennessee, Ohio State. Did you say that already?
Yeah, I did.
Oh,
Yeah.
Thanks
for listening.
Tennessee. I was looking up the weather. It's in Mount Union.
Where is Mount Union though?
Alliance, Ohio.
Okay, I knew it was Ohio.
Kickoff. It's supposed to be a real feel of 16 degrees.
Oh, all right.
Good luck, everybody.
Hey, James Ranello is a New England guy. He can handle it.
He knows that.
Yeah, he can handle it. The Wizards are play Saturday night, 8 o'clock against the Bucks on Monumental. And then the Tyson Fury Alexander Usyk fight, the DAZN pay-per-view. The main event starts at 2. The main card starts at 2, and then the main event is expected to start closer to 6. Stan, you got Tyson Fury or Usyk tomorrow?
I think Tyson Fury is going to avenge his one defeat.
There you go.
I think he's going to do it in staggering fashion.
Really? All right. Yeah. Take it to the bank, Stan says. You got Tyson Fury by knockout. All right. Monumental will have Bryant at Towson. Towson's got a home game. They need to right the ship here.
Should we go to that?
6 in a row. We could. Maybe
if we can figure out what the problem is there.
Yeah, maybe you'll see Lucas and I. That'll be followed by Kings, the LA Kings at the Washington Capitals.
Also a good game.
Morgan State plays Iowa State on ESPN Plus on Sunday. The local game, Fox has at 1 o'clock Eagles Commanders. CBS has Browns Bengals at 1 o'clock, and then we get Patriots Bills at 4:25. Everybody. That's the local game.
I can see the Patriots pulling something there.
And then Sunday Night Football's Buccaneers at the Cowboys. Oh man, just two. That's a great one as well. But at least the Bucs are a playoff team.
Yeah, Bucs are fun to watch.
There's some college basketball on Sunday as well. Get it all. GlennclarkRadio.com. Non-sports, Luke.
Tonight, the CBS National Christmas Tree lighting.
Whoa!
Which seems a little late in the season to light a Christmas tree.
I feel like they already recorded it, maybe? I don't know.
It's Josh Groban and friends are later that night.
Oh,
go
nice.
home for the holiday special.
Just tune into CBS.
So
don't need to watch college football playoff.
Yeah. I'm not sure what you're doing if you're not watching the tree lighting special. Paramount Plus, Dexter.
Read the ones I had in bold. No one cares about that. I mean, maybe someone cares about Dexter.
And then on HBO Max, Juror Number 2, which I've heard was good. It was out in theaters. I haven't seen it. Clint Eastwood film. It comes to streaming on HBO, so that'll be interesting. And then also tonight on Netflix, the 688 movie premiere, which I've never heard of, but reading your synopsis about it sounds pretty interesting. It's a Tyler Perry film, story of World War II's only, I assume the U.S.
Yeah.
Women's Army Corps unit of color.
Yeah.
Led by Kerry Washington. A mission unlike any other.
That looks like a good story.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested in that now. Tries to restore hope to the front lines by delivering over 17 million backlogged letters.
Wow.
So that'll be interesting.
Big deal.
Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
Martin Short.
What's wrong with Martin Short?
What's he doing?
What's wrong with
What's he
Martin
up to?
I don't know. I guess
Why
still only murders, I guess. I don't know.
And then
Funny
Hoosier.
guy?
Hoosier's the musical guest.
Well, not Hoosier. I think it's
Hoser?
Hosier. Yeah, Hosier.
Checking out.
Okay. All right. That's it.
Thank you.
We'll just keep going.
We'll be on here for the next couple
hours. We're done now. We're done
2
now.
o'clock.
That was
I didn't do Sunday yet.
Oh, there's the one thing on Sunday. Go.
Dune Prophecy. Stan, nice meeting you again. Take it easy. Drive safe in the snow. HBO Dune Prophecy season finale.
Hopefully good. Yeah. All right. Thank you,
Sunday
Stan,
night.
for hosting. Big shout out to all the sponsors. Stan does have to leave. Quick rundown of all our sponsors. Of course, everyone here at PressBox, Live Casino, the Governor's Challenge, County Sports Zone and Toyota, the Toyota Tacoma, CIAA Tournament, Project Game Day, Royal Farms, helpmygamblingproblem.org. What else we got on here? I'll make sure I got everybody. I think that is it. Hartford Holidays, of course, Easy Pass, the Costas Inn, Royal Farms, and you for tuning in as well. We'll get
viewers like you.
Yeah. You want to be me? I'll be Glenn here. Big shout out to everybody that we had on today. I know Stan already ran it down, but Bo, Gary Stein, Brooke Pryor, Jim Bowden,
Mary
we will get
Drexler.
it. Yeah, Mary Drexler. We'll get it all up in the greatest hits section of the archives. Okay.
You just sneeze, right?
Well, no, I don't do that. I do the Creed. I do the Creed thing now. It's the Can You Take Me Higher? Tab of GlennClarkRadio.com. We're going to do the big holiday show on Monday. Glenn will be back on Monday. Project Game Day, of course, tomorrow. But yeah, the big holiday show. Message me or Glenn or something if you want to swing by. Love to have you.
A bunch of anyone can come in for that.
Yeah, of course. Why don't you stay an extra day?
Maybe.
Carson Weekly might make an appearance.
Who?
By the way, Carson Weekly.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I'd love to meet
he's
him.
back in town.
Where's he? He goes to Ole
Jeremy
Miss?
Conn will be here. Yeah, he graduated. Yes.
What's he doing now?
He was doing all kinds of stuff. He was working at the Aberdeen. We're talking about Carson.
It's the Carson Weekly show. It's afternoon now.
He was working with the Aberdeen Ironbirds over the summer, and now he's got a few other things.
Did you meet him when you called those games out there?
I did. Yeah. We ran into each other. We were like, "What the hell?"
That's funny.
What was I doing? Oh, the holiday show, holiday drinking show. Jeremy Conn will be here. Dennis Shockett will be back with some live music. I think Drew's gonna swing by. Tim Barbalace will be here. And who knows what else?
KZ?
What else? I don't know if KZ's not a big. I don't know.
Drinker guy?
No, KZ actually he's not invited. Actually.
Oh, okay.
He's Jewish.
He's
You know
on the
that.
do not invite
And
list.
he's Jewish as well.
It's the holiday. It's not like Christmas.
Yeah, but yeah. I think that's everything. Any final words, Luke?
Nope.
Duke sucks.
Duke sucks. Ohio State sucks too. I feel like we should start saying that.